live with pre-show memes. Let me see here. So we have.
I don't have my silly hat on.
Where's your silly hat? Where is it?
Oh God.
Wait, what silly hat? I don't remember this.
Where's the silly hat?
Don't you wear a silly hat? You gotta wear one every book club.
Wait.
This is true. You didn't know about this policy? You haven't been wearing a silly hat the whole time?
He doesn't think it's silly, at least. There's definitely a hat, though. That'd just be absurd.
I see. Yeah,
No,
that's
there
okay.
is no hat, okay?
Listen, your character's the top of your character's head appears to be covered by something, so I don't know.
This weird stringy stuff.
Stringy.
Oh God, it's growing out of my head.
Is Lady Galaxy actually going to be here this week? And I'm trying to remember who said they weren't going to be here. I know Ari and Shino are at Offkai, so they will not be here. Andy will join us when Andy arrives home, which may be soon.
Honestly, we did a great job installing for Andy to show up.
Well, we have to wait for the ads to play anyway, so we got a couple more minutes.
I love ads.
I know, right? They're always so fun. It gives me time to think about what to recommend for this week. I always forget to think of something to recommend for the week.
I never think of something.
I've already recommended everything. That's great, okay? I've already recommended all the good stuff. Now you're gonna get all the mid stuff, okay?
Now you're talking bad? Come on. Can you get anti-recommend?
Yeah, X-Arm, okay? There's your anti-recommend. Actually, the X-Arm manga's not... The X-Arm manga's not actually too bad. The X-Arm anime is pretty bad, but...
needs to get translated.
The X-Arm manga is probably what we would consider mid. I don't remember how much... I think I only read, like, a couple of the initial chapters. I don't remember if it was actually good or not. I remember the art was nice. Welcome, Galaxy. Okay. I think we're pretty much missing everybody but Andy, and Andy is going to be home at some point. I don't know when. So we could probably get started once the ads are done in a couple minutes. Oh, Andy's in chat saying, XR manga fire, we should read it. It's not fully translated yet. Right?
What it is, though. Ooh, we got something good on our hands, you know?
Listen, all I know is the Vinland Saga manga is apparently ending next month. It's going to be finally done. So I can finally recommend it for book club in the future.
Really need to get around to watching season 2 of that.
Yeah, I caught up on this. It's very different from the first season, but it's still very good.
It is. I watched like the first 3 episodes and like stopped subscribing to Netflix.
That's fair. That's very fair. Andy said in all caps, "I'm on my way." Probably
go faster.
Texting this as Andy's driving. Incredible.
I think.
And they're here. And they're here.
Speedrunners be like, time.
Bad timing.
They got to get a price on your comedic timing.
And they're here.
Now.
You guys both suck at this.
Yeah, why don't you do it?
Yeah, why don't you summon Andy?
Because why the fuck would I?
I thought. That's
see,
what I
see,
thought.
because you can't do it. Because you can't do it. It's because you can't do it. Because you can't do it. You don't get to insult our timing if you're too scared to even try it yourself, okay? That's you being a coward, alright?
Yeah. Just so you're bad at summoning people.
This is what you get for not wearing a silly hat to book club. I'm just saying.
I hate all of you.
Was that part of the dress code?
Yeah, you're wearing a silly hat, right?
Silly hat. Everyone wears
yeah. Uh-huh. Yep.
Well done.
Incredible. Incredible. Okay.
Like, it's all trick to wear a silly hat while wearing headphones.
It can be done. You can wear hats and the headphones. You can do both these things.
I'm also dying, so you know.
What else is new?
Yeah.
Have you tried not dying? Have you tried it?
Chap, I'm Canadian.
Have you tried living?
Yeah, so you have healthcare.
That's true.
Well, it's free healthcare, so it's not good.
Damn.
I mean, you say that, but I don't think the paid healthcare is very good either.
They're both bad. I don't see the problem here. This would revoke my point.
You got me there.
What we're trying to say is it's over for you. That's what we're trying to say. And this is what happens
Have
again
you tried
when you don't wear a silly
foraging
hat.
for herbs?
That's true.
That's
The-
true.
The herbs might help.
Yeah.
You just need the 11 herbs and spices.
Is that KFC or
I think
is
so.
that Dr.
Yeah.
Pepper?
Could be either.
You're gonna need to cure yourself
It
with
might
a
be
can
both.
of Dr. Pepper.
I know it's at
You went
least
to
for
4
Okay,
years
KFC.
say it.
of med
Why do you think they
school.
put doctor on the label?
That's
Yeah,
true. That's
Went to
true.
4 years of med school just to be a drink for you.
Um,
And it's not even a good drink. It's like an okay drink.
I love Dr. Pepper. Take
I know
that
people who
back.
would fight
I
you
don't
for
I don't
that.
hate I don't
I
hate
agree,
Dr. Pepper.
but
I don't hate Dr. Pepper,
I
okay? It's
love
just okay. Like
Dr. Pepper. Okay? A
Listen,
doctor a day keeps the doctors
Steins Gate
away, okay?
Steins Gate makes me appreciate it a little bit more, okay? It's a drink for
Oh, yeah.
intellectuals, all right?
Mhm.
I do
However,
hate him. His silence during Pride Month is deafening.
what?
What?
What happened?
I said what I said.
Wait, who are
I-
we talking about?
we
Dr.
didn't hear
Pepper
what you
himself?
said, though.
Yeah, Dr. Pepper himself.
I don't think he's alive, I'll be honest with you.
Where's
I'm sure you
so
could find a Dr. Pepper.
does Dr. Pepper imply the existence of a Professor Salt?
No, why would it?
I mean, you know, you're right.
Are we all assuming it's a medical doctor? What if Dr. Pepper has like a mathematics PhD?
He
I was
might.
assuming history.
What is a counting degree? You know, ever think about that?
No, it's even worse. It's a philosophy.
You get a PhD in accounting?
Dr.
think
Pepper
probably.
will challenge you to a debate.
I feel like a PhD in
Killers.
accounting is just like an economist in general. I don't.
That's just the tax man, to be honest.
You can get a PhD in
That's
taxes.
somehow worse than the philosopher.
Yeah, the
PhD in
philosopher will
world
muse on the
religion.
price of something, and the tax man will tell you the exact price of something.
Dr. H&R Block.
See, I appreciate Dr. Pepper is a white chamber, but no one's ever played that game.
The what?
The white chamber?
I have no clue what this is.
Don't worry.
I'm
Bring up
never
these
worried.
things with no contact shadow.
It
Dr.
happens.
Why does that sound familiar?
We just gotta play the Burger King
Anyway.
video game, I think.
Which
I'm
one?
sure this
There's
is
like
all
2 of
Kevin's
them.
fault.
Both of them.
Well, it is Kevin's fault. We'll get that to that
Kevin.
later.
We'll get to Kevin.
First we had Gilbert. Gilbert
Das
already
Kevin's
kills me.
That
Fault.
was Kevin.
Listen, it's fine.
I will admit.
It
we're not-
beeth Kevin's fault.
All right.
I will admit.
Yep. What do you
It's
got,
not
Shadow?
as bad as Reginald, but we're getting there.
Yeah, but Kevin, I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna save it.
All right. Well, we've the ads are done. We've waited a fair bit. We will get started with introductions. If Andy shows up during
And
that, we'll just
now.
do that. And right now, no. Okay. Well, we're just gonna get started. And then Andy will probably show up a couple minutes in. So we're just gonna do that. So let me.
And here they are.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Welcome everybody to another exciting episode of the Anime Book Club here on YouTube, Twitch, and Kick, all at the same time every Thursday at exactly 9 o'clock Eastern time, which is exactly what time it is now. We're not late, fuck you. Here we're going to discuss Pandora Hearts Volume 7 and 8 this week. But before we get into that, let's go into our guests for this week. In alphabetical order from how it looks on Discord on my side, as usual. Aztec, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Aztec, and I don't really do things. I also haven't watched or played anything new this week to recommend, but I intend to play The Alters because I heard it's good, so maybe it is. I don't know.
I've also heard it's good, and I bought it, and I'm interested in trying it, but I haven't yet.
I did not buy it. It is on Game Pass.
Oh, well, there you go. Fair enough. Game Pass is
Pass
still
wins,
pretty
gotta
good
go,
value
yeah.
these days, right? I hear it's always like a pretty decent value.
It's got a lot of stuff going on to it. Whether that stuff's any good,
I mean, it had Redfall before the game ceased to exist.
happens.
like the Firebreak game that just came out, is kind of ass.
Oh. Well, that
Here's
happens.
how Concord can still win.
Anything else,
But-
Aztec?
Barbie Project Friendship also came out, so maybe that's good.
You know,
Finally.
there you go.
And
Sweet.
now.
And here they are.
I've
Time.
stalled enough. How's
Just in time, too. Wow, thanks, Aztec. Next up, Chained Bacon. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Andy. Now I'm vacant. Is my mic okay? I
Yeah,
don't know
you're
which
good.
mic.
Yeah,
Okay,
No, it's good. Yeah.
Are we doing recommendations? Is that the meme we're doing?
Right now, it's introductions. Introduce yourself, and then if you want to do a recommendation, great.
Yeah, I'm Andy. Online alias is Nyan Bacon. You may hear me referred to as both. Please do not call me a girl. I'll kill you.
Chris.
Read X-Arm. Fuck you.
Okay. Fair
What is
enough.
It's really good, is what it is.
It's about someone who used to have arms, clearly.
True.
So-
That's not even that far off.
So is
Is it
X-Arm...
an arm that used to be in a relationship?
So how far has X-Arm been translated last time you checked?
Let's see how far I read on any list. I don't know if it's been translated much further. It got to the part where Minami was turned into a bomb or whatever. Was that in the anime?
I
I don't remember if that was.
Bro, you think I remember the anime?
That was from 4 years ago, Andy.
That was 4 years ago.
Dude, I would no,
remember like it was
hold on.
yesterday.
It doesn't matter how long it was. I wouldn't have remembered it the next day. Okay, stop.
Okay, it's in my dropped because I only got 31 chapters in out of 130.
Okay,
The last time I tried to read it.
4 years and 2 months.
interesting.
That's crazy.
Wow. All right.
Anyway, the manga's pretty good.
okay,
I've known Andy for
sweet.
4 years and 2 months. Also, it's good to me. That's very
That's
funny.
how long you
That's
are
true.
in high school. Did you know that?
That's true. That's true.
Only if you're skilled. You can make it longer.
All right. Well, thank you for that,
Make
Andy.
it shorter if you aren't a
Are you
coward.
speaking from personal experience, Aztec?
All right.
Nah.
Next up, Lady Galaxy. Introduce yourself.
Oh no, that's me. Hi,
Yep,
I'm Marianne, or Anne, whichever you prefer. My recommendation this week is A Tithe in Blood.
Yes, it's
Whoa.
good. It's pretty good.
Because for some reason I'm here when I could be reading that. So
That's true. That's true. How far did you get in it so far?
I just finished Act 1, so not very
Okay,
far.
sweet.
Nice.
All right. Well,
Bye
let me
now.
know your thoughts when you're done, because I played through all of it and then wrote up a whole review, and I think it's neat, but there was a lot I could not talk about in the review because of big spoiler reasons. So I'm
Yeah, it
interested.
seems like that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I am interested in discussing thoughts with people. So let me know when you do.
Will do.
All right. Anything else?
Nah.
All right. Next up, me. Pandora Borg, aka Wolfborg, aka Chaplin, aka the best anime book club host you've ever heard of, ever, if you've only heard of this podcast at least. I would recommend Oh, I hate my life. I had the recommendation in my head earlier, and now I've lost it.
You.
A Tithe in Blood.
You've all no, I can't do that. It's already been recommended. Okay, I already plus
What about
two'd
Please
it.
Be Happy?
Death Stranding.
I listen. Death Stranding is good, but I think I already recommended it the other week.
Happy. Demo available now.
This
Please
is
be
true.
normal.
The demo, please be normal. Yes.
There you go.
I would recommend the Vinland Saga anime. I can't recommend the manga yet because I haven't read it, but I can only imagine it's great. But the anime is really, really good. So definitely go check out Vinland Saga. We talked about it briefly in the pre-show, but the manga is ending next month, we've just found out. So go check out Vinland Saga. It's got 2 seasons of an anime, and then it's also got, I think, like 13 big-ass omnibus volumes that are out in English. So you can check those out now, and it's going to be ending next month, so go check that out if you're interested in that. Maybe we'll even discuss it in the future on Book Club. I don't know. It depends on how the votes go. We'll see.
Like, I get through all of Yu-Gi-Oh first, clearly.
That's nothing. We can do that. Anyways, next up, Sinnerman V4. Introduce yourself.
I'm Shadow. Do you want to guess what I recommend this time, Andy?
What?
X-Arm the anime. Not because it's good, because it's so bad it needs to be seen.
That's the thing though, is that if you're gonna watch the X-Arm anime, don't try and do it by yourself. Okay.
Yeah,
You
do it with a
have
group
to
of
do
friends and laugh at
Do
it
it with a
together.
group of friends. Yeah.
You have to
Maybe
do it
get
like
a
that.
little drunk beforehand. That's the only way that you can really get through it.
If you're
But-
watching it yourself, it's just miserable.
Yeah,
So,
it's
there's
not.
a 2% chance that you might have been hallucinating the whole time, and you don't want
True.
that to happen. So you gotta have the evidence. You gotta have that proof.
You gotta have the group of friends to see the money laundering scheme together. You know, it's important. Okay.
I wish
very
there was
important.
evidence of that. I want like that to be confirmed.
You want their forensic accounting on
I
that?
think
I'll get on that.
We
You
don't have
want
like
them to get
hard
caught?
proof. We don't have hard proof, but I think I remember hearing the main funding for this coming from a limo company. So I think it's probably safe to assume, but you know, again. Anyways,
You know, I'm not saying it's any money laundering, but someone said so. I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm just wondering what a limo company is doing producing anime that has nothing to do with limos. I'm just saying. It's a little
I
weird.
just wanted to take it for a ride.
That's
I
true.
actually don't think there was a single limo in that anime now that I think about it.
There were cars, and they did have funny explosions happen to them that
No,
didn't make
if
sense.
you look very closely in the background of one of the episodes, you can barely, on the corner of your eye, see a limo.
Maybe.
You have to
Maybe.
watch the entire anime to find out, by the way. Have fun,
This
Andy.
begins the ARG.
All right, thanks for that, Shadow. Next up, Emily Fan Club. Introduce yourself.
Hello, I am the Emily Fan Club president, and my recommendation this week is Rido Remastered. Yippee! We waited like, I don't know, a long time. Play it. It looks really good. I only downloaded it, so I haven't started it yet, but it looks really fun. Rido Remastered.
What is this? I've never heard of this. What is Rido?
Oh, I'm sorry. It is a Mega 10 game. It's the original is called Devil Summoner Rido,
Oh.
and it's in the Shin Megami Tensei universe.
Ooh.
That's why I remember the name.
I'm looking at images of it
It's
now, and it looks pretty
remastered. But if you're not interested in getting the game, they actually released a half volume manga for free on the website.
cool. Oh.
So that's my recommendation. Get a free manga.
If you're interested in that, that's
Yippee.
spelled Raidou. Go check that out if you are interested.
Devil Summoner, let's go. Lock in.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right,
in
thank you so
gamers.
much. Thank you so much for that. Now it's time to discuss Pandora Hearts. Now, before we get into volumes 7 and 8, this week's reading, Andy, who was not here last week and has caught up with the reading, did you have specific thoughts of the previous volumes that you really, really wanted to get out of your system beforehand?
We didn't meet Leo and what's his face until this reading, right?
No, we met them last week. This week started with Lottie and all of them just leaving. That's where it started with.
Okay. The only thing that I really came away from this reading feeling like is that it's a little early for Oz to be starting his like redemption, quote unquote. So I think he's actually gonna die.
Probably. That clock on his chest is moving pretty fast. I don't know. It might happen.
I'm still not sure I understand under what circumstances his incuse in particular moves.
We haven't really gotten an answer.
Nobody
for
does.
Nobody does? Okay. I did end up looking it up, and I wouldn't be surprised if Turandot brought this up, but the definition of incuse is like the emblem that's like stamped onto coins.
Yep.
And I thought that it's kind of interesting that they kind of treat like the illegal contractors like currency.
Oh, interesting point. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the only thing that really stood out to me this week was the fact that Oz is jumping. How many volumes are there? 24? And we're at 6, so we're maybe a quarter of the way through, and he's already fully embracing the idea that he's gonna become a better person and get better. That boy is not surviving the end of the manga. That kind of redemption stuff doesn't happen until like halfway through it, because I don't know. That's just my opinion.
I get worried about that too, but also this week has more so confirmed to me than ever just how much time travel shenanigans we're gonna get up to with this. So he may die, but he may not actually be dead through time travel memes. If this makes sense.
Well, and this week was also the thing that introduced the idea that like there were spoiler alert, 2 Alices, right?
Oh
so,
my
like,
god.
Oh my god. So, or like the idea that Oz is Jack reincarnated. Like, we could also start getting into like not just time travel, but also multiple versions of the same character or the same soul, quote unquote. And that might end up being a thing later. I don't know. Really, my whole thing is just that Oz's character development feels a little early for him to be alive, or this version of Oz to be alive at the end, I guess.
Right.
See, Andy, it's actually a bell curve.
Andy, what did you think of Elliot and Leo?
What did I think of Elliot and Leo? I thought that the fact that Oz... No, because we didn't see the thing about Elliot's nightmare until this reading, right?
Yeah.
Okay. They're fine, I guess. I don't know. They're kind of boring to me.
What?
Okay.
Hey!
Bro.
I don't hate them as much as I hated Natsuki, okay? I have the kind of character to hate like I hated Natsuki.
Elliot's great, okay? I like Elliot and Leo. I want them to stick around longer.
Elliot and Leo were the characters. Their introduction was the point where I realized this was going to be a lot like Umineko, where it's a lot of people to be keeping track of all at once. And
Look,
I'm
Andy,
not going to enjoy that.
It's not 40 people, at least not yet.
Not yet, though. Like,
well, so it's different than Umineko in this case. I mean, because the past couple of weeks I have like kept separate notes for like, okay, who are the new characters this week? But it's different than Umineko though, because these new characters may be introduced and then they fuck off for like several volumes, and then they come back later. Whereas Umineko,
like,
those new characters are introduced and then they stick around the entire time.
But like, I feel like that's also the other reason that I'm kind of like on Elliot and Leo is because like you've piqued my interest, but when's the next time that they're gonna come into play, right? Like volume 12, volume 20,
maybe.
Who fucking knows?
I
don't know.
That's when the trolls come in.
Listen, I wanted the Cheshire Cat back, and they did come back in a flashback, I guess.
I did fuck with the Cheshire Cat. Was the Cheshire Cat last week's reading?
No, it was the week before.
The week before.
They kind of wrapped up the fight last week, but by wrapped up, I put that in air quotes because it was just like, okay, we're done.
For people who are listening, for context, I sat down and read volumes 3 through 8 on Sunday. So like 4 or 5 days ago.
That's a
So
lot.
this is all just like blending together in my head. I liked the Cheshire Cat personally. I prefer the Disney design with the stripes. So I think that it would have been, I probably would have liked his design a little more if it was less monochromatic.
I see. Yeah.
But that was really the only thing that I felt about with his character. I thought the whole dynamic eye thing with Xerxes was interesting, and I think that definitely lent itself well to what we got into this reading. That was the kind of thing where it was actually nice to read it all condensed together like that, because I get to kind of see the Cheshire Cat from like the start to the end all in one go. So that was nice.
The Cheshire Cat, I like the design instantly. I was like, this is really cool. I like what's going on here. I hope they become some reoccurring character with the squad long term.
And
then he was gone. But then we go to this week's reading, and I open up volume 8, and the cover is him, and I'm like, what the fuck? So he's coming back after all? And it was just a flashback of him, and he wasn't even there for that much of it. I don't know why is he on the cover? I mean, I get why they're doing it. It's because the author wanted to put each different character on each different volume. Like, we have Jack on the cover for volume 7, and he wasn't that much of a role this week either. Yeah, it's that's less so the planning of like what's happening in the events of the story, and more so I want these different characters to show up on a cover now, and I've already done these other characters before, so I can't do them again and all that. Like we had Lottie on the cover last week, and it was like, okay, but Lottie did get introduced, but this week Lottie actually had backstory a little bit more, so not a lot of it, but like briefly. So I thought that was weird that was split up like that. Things like that. But I was just like, the Cheshire Cat's on the cover. Oh my god, that means he actually is coming back. And then it was just a flashback. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'll take it. I guess. That volume 8 is pretty much a whole like Break volume. And Break was like one of last week's, no, the week, like 2 weeks ago, I think Break was on the cover.
I'm not complaining.
I mean, it's good. I liked a lot of what we did with Break's backstory. I mean, we'll get into the details of that, but I'm
right.
I do, however, look at the fact that we're learning Break's backstory now at this point, and I'm like, okay, so Break's dying pretty soon, isn't he? Break's going.
Oh yeah.
God, I hope
Don't
so.
say that.
That wasn't
Don't
even
say
sudden.
that.
He's been coughing up blood for like what, 4 volumes at this point.
He's
Yeah.
still got plenty of life in him.
He's a young man.
Spaghetti's tone does not fill me with confidence.
All right. Any past thoughts from? Oh yeah, go on.
Was the last third or so of volume 8 just non-canon?
So you mean like the nightmare
The
sequence
like
stuff?
one
or-
shot thing.
Oh, the one shot. Yeah, the one shot was just a prototype version of Pandora Hearts. None of that was canon.
Okay.
Which sucks because I kind of liked that. I was like kind of.
I did not actually. I had the opposite reaction. I was so not interested in that. Especially before. So the one shot, I guess we could talk about the one shot first, because it's just a complete prototype of what the setup of the story was supposed to be. It did a couple different things at first. It did not introduce Jack as our main character. It followed a priest, I think. Like they kept calling him Father or something. So he was some sort of priest, and who believed he was actually hearing the word of God. But it was a chain. It was a chain that was like fucking with him and using him to actually commit murders under the name of the Bee Rabbit, which attracted the attention of Jack and Gil, who are still going by using the Bee Rabbit as a chain. But Alice is not like a character that is with them. The Bee Rabbit just appears to be a power that Jack has through his chain.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Is he named Jack or was he named Oz?
I'm sorry. He is Oz. He is Oz. I keep saying Jack because they're just basically like reincarnation faces or whatever. And I feel like Jack is a more main character. Oz is like main character. How do I describe it? I keep assuming Jack is the main character more so than Oz, despite our story following Oz, because Jack was told as the hero and like he has some sort of reincarnated connection potentially with Oz, and Oz's role is pretty much like trying to go through his repressed trauma stuff, I guess. So it felt more,
with both Jack and Alice or B-Rabbit or whatever, like Oz's whole thing is that he's basically just like a vessel for them. So I think it makes sense that he blends into the background when Jack gets presented. But go on with the one shot thing.
Oh, he gets taken over though. He does get taken over. I couldn't tell if that was supposed to be Jack taking over or that was supposed to be the power of the B-Rabbit taking over. But either way, the way it's established in the one shot is like Jack and Gil have been doing this stuff with. They introduced some different concept for how Pandora in the Abyss works. Pandora is not like an organization. It's supposed to be like a vessel for the person's soul and wishes or something like that. I couldn't fully understand that bit, and or at least that's what the chain would tell people, and it would claim that it could grant their wishes if it allowed them access to their body. And then the chain was using the priest to commit the murders without the priest realizing that he was being used to commit the murders. Oz shows up to him saying, "Oh, my sister was killed in the recent killing. Could you help me investigate, this matter?" And the father goes, "Oh yeah, sure, I could do that." And then the chain takes over him and tries to kill Oz, thinking that he is the brother of the person he just killed. He's not. He's just pretending to like investigate whatever chain is using the name of the B-Rabbit to commit these killings. And then they fight the chain. I mean, the chain looked pretty cool, but I don't think I was interested in anything else about this. They made Gil, first of all, he introduced himself as Gilbert. And it was supposed to be in like a ominous, like, yeah, I'm super serious, I'm here to fight. And he's like, "My name is Gilbert." I'm sorry. I can't. We already have Kevin that we gotta talk about this week, all right? But it's a super serious moment.
Kevin did nothing wrong.
So that was already one thing. It was like, okay, super serious. Which, by the way, Gil in that whole one shot is like meant to be super like serious. He's not any of the like, he's my master type deal. I gotta deal with this child bossing me around or whatever. Like, he's seems to be in the one shot super serious the whole time, more so than he is in the main story, and I don't like that for him. I don't know. And then Oz being like the mastermind, I understand everything going on type personality in that, acting like he's done this for ages. I understand, as a prototype, it's more understandable for that to happen. I did not like that for his character's personality. I don't know.
I gleaned that was more like the idea, like that wasn't Oz, that was actually the B-Rabbit. The thing that I liked, one, was the mark on the eye when he was possessed.
I did
by
like that. That was pretty cool.
I like that kind of edgy shit. But the thing that I liked more about the one shot than I do about the main manga so far is the idea. Again, sorry to bring up stuff that we haven't talked about yet, I don't think, but the fact that the Alice that they're following right now is actually like twin sister to the other Alice. I actually preferred the idea that they had introduced in the one shot, that it's not Alice and Alice, but it's the B-Rabbit chasing Alice. The idea that the rabbit is always trying to follow. And I feel like that motif or that theme is not carried over or translated as well into the full manga. And I would have preferred it if they treated it more like the rabbit chasing Alice than Alice and Alice trying to rediscover each other.
Yeah, I do remember that line. Oz just directly drops a line about, it's Rabbit's job to chase after Alice or something like that. So I remember that bit. I could see it. I can understand it. maybe it's just because I got so used to the way these characters are in the regular manga, and I like these characters in the regular manga, that to see their personalities like that, I'm just like, it don't feel right. I don't know.
That's fair.
I think it also threw me off the fact that Oz was just not the focus of it at first, and then they made it look like he just got fucking shot and killed instantly, and then he came back to like stop bullets midair to fight them, and I was like, okay, well, I can accept the switch in whose perspective we're supposed to be following. However, freezing bullets midair for this fight, I don't know. I feel like there were cooler ways to handle that. It's listen, it's fine. It's fine. Like, I didn't like.
Does that answer your question, Aztec?
What was your question?
Yeah.
Was it canon?
No, it was not canon. It was all just the prototype memes, which.
Sorry, I thought that would be funny.
Although I guess the fact that we read the regular, the manga before reading the prototype or whatever, it's like I already knew, like, oh, there's Gil, oh, there's Oz. I wonder how they're gonna be, and then I was like, oh, do they just have Oz get killed at first here, and then they made him a main character in the actual manga, and then they switched that around?
That was how that one was gonna go. That was wild.
That was very
I would
funny.
say
That was crazy.
Because I was just like, okay, what did the editor tell them to change? And the main thing I noticed that they told them to change is, okay, you gotta bring in Alice. Okay, you gotta make an Alice or something. You gotta have her hanging out with you guys, like, pretty, like, in the first chapter or whatever. She's gotta show up. It's in some way. You gotta do that. You gotta make Gil not as, like, dark and mysterious and gloomy the whole time. Okay, maybe start him off as a kid about his age, and then you make him dark and mysterious in the future. You know, some editor notes, I guess, with that kind of thing.
Gil.
It's again, I don't know. I mean, if other people like the one shot, I got no problem with that. Personally, for me, having read the how the characters are in the manga itself, they're just so much better for me, I think. And
I mean,
it was
trying also helps that there's a lot more time.
Yeah, that's true. I think also it tried to explain the Pandora ability stuff too. I understand they had a short time to do it. Whatever that concept they were trying to do was, I was just like, my eyes glazed over, so I'm like, okay, there's weird MacGuffin power things happening. I don't care. I didn't care about it.
I'm just afraid of whimsy. We learned this when we read Umineko.
I don't know. What other thoughts did you guys have about the one shot? I think I pretty much spoke my mind about it. So what do other people think about the one shot? Did we like it? Did we hate it? How did we feel about it? If you did read it,
There's one thing I like to mention about the chain they fight.
What's that?
Of all the numbers in the world, of all the several ones you pick from, why would you pick mid?
Yeah, what was he, like the 5 of cards or something like that?
I think.
It wasn't even a suit. He said I'm the 5 of cards. What does that even mean? I'm the 5 of cards.
Oh, my favorite card, the 5th one.
5.
Just all the 5s, okay?
This is how you play Uno.
I'm the 5 of cards. Oh god.
Pandora Hearts themed Uno deck.
That's who the new Balatro mod, don't you know?
Oh boy. Yeah. I liked the design of the chain, at least. I thought that was cool. The art still pretty much held up for what I came to expect, but story-wise and character personality-wise, and again, like Galaxy said, the time restriction also heavily impacts these kind of things. I do get this way when it comes to with like TV show pilots too, or like first episodes of animes. I usually just assume the first episode for them is usually gonna be the worst, because they're trying to write things in a way to like sell things in a proper way. Like if you watch House MD is great. The first episode is not so great for a number of reasons. The first of which is very obvious. they put a weird orange fucking filter on everything, like Vicodin
It
bottle
takes place
orange
in
filter.
Mexico.
It's and this it's weirdly it's also the episode where a patient shows up who's supposed to be turning, like, his skin is supposed to be turning orange. But you can't fucking really tell that because everything in that episode is orange. I don't know why they did that.
Extra orange. That's
And
how you
also,
know.
the audio is
Suddenly
dog
orange.
shit, okay? The audio is absolute dog shit on the first episode, too. And then the second episode, it's like, everything is, like, way, way better. That first episode, like, it sells you the premise of, like, the kind of characters we have, what's going on. But, you know, the audio is not great. Even Hugh Laurie's performance as House, he hasn't quite figured out how to play House yet and things like that. All this to say, the first entries or the prototypes of these things, like, they can
For
end
those
up being
that don't
pretty
know,
weak. Yeah.
Because it sounded like Shadow might have been a little confused. Very often, such as with House MD, or I know Firefly, I think Futurama, also their first
Breaking
episode
Bad
was
does
the
this.
pilot. Breaking Bad. The pilot is what the directors or like the producers or the people that had the idea put together to give shareholders and
Yep.
like the people that are actually going to provide the money to fund the show to say, hey, this is our idea. This is how the episodes would look. This is what we want your money to do. And if it gets picked up, then it gets turned into a whole show and you see
Yep.
that quality jump from episode 1 to episode 2. If
Yep.
it doesn't, sometimes maybe you get a pilot released on YouTube and it fades into obscurity. But
Right.
that's why a lot of times those episodes look so bad, is because it's some, you know, indie group being like, hey, let's try and do this and see if we can get funding for it.
Yeah. It's understandable. And again, this is why when I watch a lot of anime stuff, I'll watch at least the first episode of it, and if the first episode can't sell me, if the first episode sells me on it a lot, I'll know the rest of it's going to be peak, because it's tough for a lot of anime to actually sell me on the first fucking episode, okay? So if it's able to do that, then the rest of it's not really going to have much of a problem, unless you're stuff like Wonder Egg Priority, which is just unfortunate production memes, I guess. You know?
I mean, most anime can't sell you on the first episode because most anime is shit.
My mom's
Damn.
my mom's rule is 3
Got
episodes
'em.
with any TV show. She'll give it 3 episodes to see if it's worth watching.
And that's right. A lot of people
Right.
do that. I don't have time for that shit, you know. But other people
real.
could do that. Other people could do it. But yeah, so I mean, other thoughts from other people about the one shot, if you have any.
I just skimmed it.
That, I mean, that's fair. I wouldn't like. I would have been surprised, or not surprised. I wouldn't have been surprised if people just came here saying they didn't bother reading it. I wouldn't have blamed you at all. I kind of felt like not reading it, but I was like, yeah, fine, I will. But I was just like, it was all right.
Like, I was going over it, giving each page like 5 seconds of looking. It's like, okay, do we get back to the actual story at some point, or is this just the rest of the volume? It was the rest of the volume.
I actually do that with the ending memes. I don't find the ending memes that fun personally. So I enjoyed the one shot. Don't like the ending memes.
You didn't like the ending meme this week about the fake
What?
visual
I
novel dating
loved
sim?
it. I want to play that game.
It looked fun, and then there was the other one was
It
like
was-
love advice between
It was
Alice
like
and
sadism versus masochism. or
the
something.
dating sim had a sadism versus masochist meter based on your choices.
By the way, I like to mention there's no in between.
Dating
It's
sims,
one or
if they
the
weren't
other.
cowardly.
You're either sadist or masochist. There's no other option here.
Well, yeah, it's a spectrum.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody
I like
else?
the one shot okay.
Yes.
But it just felt kind of weird to place it where it was.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I'm
One
trying
pretty
to
funny though.
I have to post something from the fake visual novel because it just made me laugh.
What's up?
It's so beautiful. Oh wait,
I'm ready for
there
it.
it is.
Let's see here.
Oh,
Oh yes, I was gonna bring that up. In the corner, I'll show the
Are
full
you-
page
oh.
too. Hold
Make
on,
the
let me.
Washi reference?
You're gonna take me home?
Wait, let me find the full page. This is on. I'll show the full page.
I
and then I'll zoom in
got
after
full
that
page. I got
bit.
full page.
Okay, you do. Okay.
Shadow's got everything.
Yes, because
Base.
these voice streams are fucking
Silence.
amazing.
They're fine.
They're not
Also-
fine. They're
also-
great. Okay, you're wrong. Anyways,
Look, Andy.
wait. Where's the
and-
meter?
and-
book.
I gotta see the
A
meter.
book
Oh,
called
that's
Gang
gonna be-
Leader Emily.
God.
Like, can we read that? Is that a
Oh
light
yeah,
novel?
did you appreciate the advertisement selling the Emily doll? Did you get your Emily doll?
I did.
Yeah, I
did find
finally
that funny.
ordered
I
my
like that
Emily
one.
doll.
You bought your Emily
That
It's
was
doll,
gonna
right?
cost $200 in tariffs, but it's worth it.
I ordered one, but it hasn't arrived yet.
Is the choose your character and it's hovering over? Is that supposed to be Emily? What is that?
It's like Emily.
Yeah, it's always Emily.
You get to play as Emily. That's good.
A mysterious
Fem-
homeless man.
Emily
Oh,
or
you're gonna
Mask
take me
Emily?
home?
Like a-
Wait, where is the okay, let's see here. Oh,
Sorry,
yeah,
I gotta mention
all
no,
this
I want
stuff.
Echo to
Okay,
cut
these are
me
funny
down.
bits. This is funny bit. Again, like I've said before, okay, the author really does have fun when it comes to the bonus memes. They really understand how they want to have fun with their characters. I think
Maybe a
they're
little too
great.
much fun.
I think they're neat. Okay, very creative, very nice. We got a couple comments from Views Hunter in the chat. Mexico mentioned "Let's go," and then generally, I only watch stuff that really interests me or has a good recommendation from people with similar taste. So I don't really apply the first 3 episode rule. That's fair. And then the one shot was an interesting look into what concepts were around from early on. Namely, that time was a big element early on. Just that now it's part of the mystery element instead of a JoJo power. I see. You know, again, I understand why things are written this way for the one shot. You know, I get it. I'm just glad where we actually ended up with the actual manga. It is such an upgrade for me, I think. Like the one shot versus the first chapter of Pandora Hearts, hugely different, and I really appreciate the first chapter of Pandora Hearts, the manga, far more, I think. I don't know.
Speaking of bonus memes, this is from the start of volume 8, I think. And all I can think about is Azumanga
Oh,
Daioh.
yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say when I first saw that, I was like, "When's the band episode?"
Yeah.
Also, by the way, Canon, Emily's blue.
Pandora
And I don't know how to
Hearts,
feel about
Tony
that.
and Mark.
all of these like chapter arts that we do get are always like pretty great, I think. Like again, author having a fun time with their characters. We've shown a few of the images on past streams. Always a fun time. When are they going to perform? I got to hear it. Do they perform in the anime? Surely they will. You know,
I'm glad
I-
Alice has the symbols because that's about what I would trust her with musically.
I would have given her a triangle.
No, she
sure
probably
that isn't
should
too
have
much?
some way to use a triangle as a murder weapon.
Cowbell.
Cowbell.
It's just
Okay.
what this band needs.
Also, Emily's blue. That's canon now.
So
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
so
Aren't we all?
Just
What-
an
what
interesting
do-
observation.
what do we go for next? Did anybody have any other thoughts about the one shot they wanted to bring up before we really dive into this week's stuff? I mean, we've sort of talked about some of this stuff a little bit. So, you think it's neat. I think it's eh. I was not a fan, but it's whatever. It's fine. Okay, so
No, the two of you must fight to the death until only one opinion remains.
so now I'm just gonna win.
Chap's gonna win. He has only the right opinions ever, unless it's about Familiar of Zero.
What are my opinions of Familiar
Here's-
Zero that
here's
are
the thing-
wrong?
Here's the thing, Andy.
Well, they're not mine.
Well, that's
Well, I
true.
mean, I'm like the one here saying we have to watch the anime here in book club, okay? And even you're the one saying we don't have to, and I'm just like, bro, listen, we have to watch the anime, okay?
Speaking of which, guys, if you want to join our anime watch parties, which are happening on Saturdays,
Yes.
you can join the Wolfborg Discord.
At
and hang out with
discord.wolfborg.com.
us.
Go to
Use
discord.wolfborg.com.
discount code
TV.
Wolfborg.
Discount code Wolfborg. Okay, you can grab yourself the book club role. You can be a part of the book club. You could even show up on these streams if you want to. But if you don't want to, you can always just chat with us in the chats. That's always welcome. And you're always welcome to join us for the watch parties. We are going to be finishing up summertime rendering, hopefully, this weekend on
Yes.
Saturday. So hopefully we'll be able to have the time to finish
I need
it.
to put that in my calendar. I actually just realized I almost double booked myself for that night. But yes, we're watching Summertime Rendering, and then we're gonna start Familiar Zero, and then we're gonna watch all of Sailor Moon.
Yes, we gotta get the
No,
Do it.
hold up. Yeah, hold up. Yeah, hold up. We're finishing Summertime Rendering, then we're watching Familiar Zero, then we're watching Girls Last Tour, and then we're starting Sailor Moon.
Okay.
No, Girls Last Tour.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Because I don't think we'll be done by I don't think we'll be done with Pandora Hearts by then. So we're gonna do Girls Last Tour, and then we'll start Sailor Moon.
The full thing.
The whole
I'm
thing.
actually the whole thing. I'm kind of excited for Pandora Hearts to be on the list, specifically because I've seen people say that it's one of the ones that deviates really badly from the manga. So I'm interested in watching and having us as a group watch an anime that actually doesn't follow the manga. Also, do we have
What?
Do we have an announcement date for Dorohedoro season 2?
It's supposed to be fall, I think. It's supposed to be sometime this year. It's supposed to come out, but it's also a Netflix meme, so they're just gonna. They're most likely they're only gonna drop like half of it at first, and then you have to wait 6 months for the other half. That seems to be the pattern.
This is so fucked up.
What they're probably gonna do is they're gonna say season 2 is coming, guys, and it's gonna be like 6 episodes, and then in 6 months season 3 is coming out, and that's just all the rest of season 2. They do this all the time. They did this with Squid Game recently. Okay, Squid Game season 2 is not. They released season 2 and they say season 3 is coming next year. It's the rest of season 2. Season 2 did not have a conclusion anywhere at all. It was not done. It was not finished. So, anyways, Netflix is interesting. So, anyways, Dorohedoro. Okay, Dorohedoro is supposed to be at some point this year. They have not announced it yet, though, so I'm going to assume it's either going to be fall or yeah, it has to be fall season because otherwise we would know it by now. But we'll see.
I wanted it to be quarter 2.
Well.
Wait,
Yeah.
Chap.
What?
I know, Chap, right? Andy.
Huh.
You said you would lose to Chap, right? Counter argument, you can just kill him.
Wow.
Why would I do that? Then
that's a
I'd have to run the book clubs. I don't want to do that.
Is that how that works? You absorb the power and you have to run book club now?
I take over. Usurp
be
you.
only one.
This is just like Tekken, you're fighting for control of the book club. Like that should be the prize, okay? Whoever wins the next quiz, they get to run book club. I get to take a break.
Fuck
Technically,
yeah, let's
technically you
go.
don't have to
That'd be
kill
very
him.
fun.
It's more like a King of the Hill thing.
Oh, no. You have to throw off a cliff. You gotta do that.
Okay,
next.
all right. I'm gonna.
Demonstrate him.
Okay, let's focus on Pandora Hearts again because we gotta talk about this week. Okay, all right.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do. Okay, so this week's actual stuff. We started with some brief backstory stuff about Lottie, which I did not expect out of nowhere. We were shown like Lottie in the past, which means more time travel shenanigans. She is from the time that Jack was just around at that time, and was a part of the massacre of Sablier, right? Or at some point, Glenn, because we got to see Jack hanging out with Glenn, the Baskervilles, because this is when the Baskervilles were just another noble house and not like the evil robed murderers that they are now. And then Glenn apparently hangs out with Jack, and Jack is the only one who makes Glenn like smile or whatever, I guess. And then one day Glenn's just like, all right, Lottie and Doug and Fang, whatever, everybody go kill everybody right now in Sablier. Just go kill them all right? And they're like, but why? Just do it. Okay, all right, sure.
Don't fucking question me.
We got you. And we also got confirmation Lottie's full name is Charlotte, and the outfit she was wearing and the way she was acting, I was just like, I understand, okay, gotta stop seeing Umineko and everything. I just kept thinking, Beatrice, what is this? I don't. And then
Umineko really does give you Kinzo disease.
And then we had Alice later on, who's like, okay, it's time for the tea party. And it was like all crazy supernatural or whatever. So I'm like, oh, okay. All right. I'm not.
Can't go all the way down.
I'm definitely not Umineko Braid. It's fine. It's fine. So yeah, for some reason we started this week with just a Lottie flashback, and then it just went back to what was currently happening, where she wanted to talk with Jack to find out where Glenn was, and then Jack's just like, get the fuck out of here, and then they do. And I was like, all right, I guess that fight's done. all right, fair enough. They're like, you can tell us where Glenn is. Where is Glenn? And he's just like, I'm not saying shit. Get out of here. All right, we're gone. Do as you please. Do whatever you want.
So much of this manga is people doing what other people tell them to do.
It's very effective, I will admit.
But there we're still dealing with Jack and Elliot's not Jack, I'm sorry, Oz. Again, I keep forgetting because Jack will take over Oz's body sometimes too. True. Oz and Elliot and their whole conversations back and forth about how Oz needs to stop being self-sacrificing the way that he is. It is just going to get everybody else killed if he acts this way. And now we have Oz kind of going through the motions of understanding, like, as long as he has this kind of understanding of himself, that is how he behaves, and he's like aware of it, and he chooses not to just remain that way, and he like moves in some direction with that like that's all really people like Elliot are at least looking for, is that he's doing something about it. Because like the way I read it was like the discussion felt
admitting you have a problem is the first step.
Exactly, yeah. Like if you are aware that, okay, I have this problem, and then you just don't do anything about it, you are. There's a lot of reasons why I understand why Elliot would be pissed off by people like that. So, you know, I appreciate Elliot for a lot of reasons, but especially that we got to use Elliot as a vehicle for Oz to come to these realizations and actually like talk about it, verbalize it, because as we also get lines of later on in this week's reading, Oz is just realizing more and more, I just go with what's happening, just assume, like, when they meet the weird fucking Duke guy later, and he's just like, okay, I guess this is happening now. Anyways, do you have information on this? And it's just like, okay, you're not going to ask anything about this? You're not going to wonder about this? That you're just going to accept that this is happening? And
Yeah.
because he has to stop just accepting things the way they are, and start, like, actually having feelings about them, I guess. I don't know how to describe it. There's like something that is missing with how he reacts to certain things for reasons of potentially not wanting to, like, I don't know if it would be like not wanting to upset people, but not wanting to express himself, maybe. He just does not want to. He just wants to be like, I'm here for you guys, but we get lines later on saying stuff like, don't use doing something for somebody else as just an excuse alone. It's fine if you want to do things for other people, but don't like do everything for that sole purpose, I guess. If I'm remembering that correctly. I don't know.
It's kind of going back and forth. Also, I do just want to say, I can describe it really quickly.
Yep.
Which is that I wish her luck on her transition. It's kind of going back and forth on that a little bit, in that at first, going back to last week a little bit, Oz's ideation being what it is, just putting everyone else around them first, refusing to like even make a decision, just kind of accepting everything that could possibly happen to them. I immediately derailed my own train of thought, so I completely forgot where I was going with this.
Don't worry, you're doing good.
We're basically just talking about Oz's like realization of his mindset of things in terms of like being self-sacrificing and like
Right,
how to
yes.
properly express himself. Yeah.
The first thing that happens there is Elliot basically being like, "You fucking idiot, you're gonna get everyone else killed if you don't find a reason to live." And the immediate thing that Oz does is decide to live for the sake of other people. And that is kind of being challenged here, but not really.
It's
Maybe
like
not yet.
like the
Not
way
yet.
I was I was understanding it, like it is okay if you want to do those kind of things, but you need to like understand a more valid reasoning for wanting to do it, if that makes sense. It's like if you're only doing things for the sake of other people with no regards for your own life, that is can be self-sacrificing behavior and could, you know, you could just be giving your own life for somebody else. But if you're doing that kind of thing just because you don't care about whether you live or die, which I believe we've already established is the case for Oz in some of these cases, he just does not really care about that. That is not good at all. And it, you know, not a healthy reason for wanting to do that thing. Is the action, like the resulting action, potentially good for what you're like actively doing? Maybe, but the intention's not good, which means like over time it's gonna go too far, and will end up getting other people hurt as a result of this kind of stuff. So your reasoning for it has to be a little better. How you come to understand the reasoning for it can be a little tricky if you're trying to like rationalize it afterwards, I guess. Because you have to come to the realization, like, if your personality is I want to help other people, and you've realized that the core reason why it feels like you want to help other people is just because you don't care about your own life, you have to try to find some way to appreciate your own life more.
I think there's, sorry to interrupt, I do think there's
go
a
on.
slight difference with Oz.
Okay.
In that I don't think it's Oz necessarily doesn't care. Oz at this point kind of feels like they have to repent for their own existence.
Yeah, he absolutely does have that mindset. Yep. Like he's been told over and over in his childhood growing up that he shouldn't have been born, and yeah, it's that his existence is an eyesore or whatever by his dad, or what we understand to be his dad. I don't buy that that's his dad, but that's whatever. We'll get into that in the future, I'm assuming, because I do not buy whatever that figure was is his actual dad, but I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I wonder if, because we still haven't really figured out who the grave that they found the watch by belonged to, right? I wonder, I mean, I don't know, but I wonder if it's just going to be something as simple as your birth caused your mother to get sick or something like that.
I
It might have done that.
I took the implication, this is skipping ahead a little bit, but I took the implication because they say that Jack, I believe, is the one who made the watch.
Yeah, Jack and
So
Glenn
I
together.
took that implication as the watch being there, that means that's Jack's grave.
It could
That's
be
fair. Or maybe it's Glenn's grave, because the whole thing was that Glenn was the one that made the melody in it, isn't it?
Yeah,
well,
Glenn
I
made the music.
was unclear
Jack
on
made
that.
So we've now been told Elliot supposedly actually composed the song. Is what we're told at least. So there's time travel shenanigans. There's time travel shenanigans going on with that.
That's the thing, but there is time travel at play, so he could very
Yes.
easily be the original composer.
Yeah.
And then stuff happened, everyone went back in time.
Yes.
Right. I've been assuming that it was reincarnation based on the whole dream sequence that Elliot has later.
It could also be that, yeah.
Could be.
He might just have a Glenn in his head too, like Oz has Jack.
Maybe.
That's
see, there's
fair.
Shannon, and then there's canon.
I mean, that would be funny if
somebody that believes in me.
That would be funny if Glenn is just actually hiding in like Elliot's head or whatever, or somebody's head, because as we established this week with the whole Alice two Alice's thing, the intention of the Abyss is apparently just Alice but white haired instead.
Alice but white.
And
White Girl Wednesday.
so like we've been looking for this character the whole time, and it's just like a different personality of this character, I guess, or like a dead twin or whatever. I was trying to understand. My understanding of it, and I could have been misunderstanding it, was that Alice has multiple personalities, one of which is the intention in the abyss. And that is what is happening with her, and then the human version of her was killed, and then the remaining personality, which I'm assuming is the intention of the abyss being a chain or whatever. For whatever reason, Alice seemed to have been born as both human and a chain, which is why we have the two personalities. And then when the human version died, there was only just the chain version. And then that transformed in a different way from what the intention of the abyss was or something. I couldn't fully understand.
I thought the implication was that it was more of like an experimentation kind of thing, where it was like, it sounded like the seed of the abyss had been implanted in her mother, and she gave birth to twins.
Oh.
Alice, that was from the abyss, and Alice that was human, and they're connected through soul because they're like twins, they're the same person. And so the human Alice died, and the intention of the abyss like saved her soul or whatever or something like that, and that's the Alice that they're now following. My assumption was that they're two distinctly different people, but the intention of the abyss would use the human vessel to travel back and forth, and they would temporarily switch places.
I see. I mean, that makes more sense because like we already have the understanding that Jack can just take over Oz's body, and they have some sort of like connection to be able to do that. So, you know, that is reasonable. That's understandable. We brought this up because of the idea of Glenn. Yes, Glenn, supposed to be the Baskerville bad guy, who seemed to have told them to just start murdering people. What do we think about Glenn at this point? What are our thoughts about him? Do we have any thoughts about him?
Villain.
He's a boring villain.
So I don't think about him.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Nice.
That's
I
fair.
assume he contracted with a chain to try and change the past, which is why he wanted to murder everybody.
That's
Yeah, I
fair.
needed the lives or whatever. I don't know.
I'm not sure how that actually like relates to anything. I think you just go to hell regardless. But
I think
of
if
how many
Glenn and
people you
Jack
kill,
had made out, the things would have gone a lot better.
Well,
I'm not entirely sure they didn't. They were real good friends, is what they said. You
And
know.
not only that,
I was thinking
Jack
that.
was like the only person that could get Glenn to smile or
Yeah.
something was something that was touched on in Lottie's backstory.
I was confused of whether or not Lottie was
Small
supposed to be
friendship.
like someone who was trying to like date Glenn or something like that. I didn't understand what was going on with why we were following her in the flashback for that. But then I was like, then I'm seeing her seeing like, oh, he actually smiled while hanging out with Jack. I guess those two are very close, right? And I'm like, well, you know, very close. But then I remember this author. Then I remember this author, and I remember they they tend to dash any hopes you can of that kind of relation. like we've seen in the case study of Vanitas, they can be
That's
aggressively straight.
That literally just proves my point. That if the author had the balls to let Glenn and Jack make out, none of this would have happened.
True.
That's
true.
what we call a comedy.
True.
A rare occasion where Yaoi could have saved the world.
I was assuming that Lottie was a sibling of some kind. For some, like, maybe not necessarily blood, but like Lottie, Fang, the human Alice, Glenn, and Vincent, I think is
Doug?
the
Come on, you
guy's
forget the
name.
Ford character?
Doug, is that his name?
So there's the three
Yeah,
Baskerville bad guys that were in robes and like the academy. That was Doug, fucking Doug, Fang, and
Fucking
Lottie.
Doug.
Fucking
Doug
Doug.
only has the second dumbest name in this reading.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten to Kevin yet.
Oh yes.
But like I was assuming that it was a situation like Gil with the Night Veils where they were like brought in and treated as family.
Right.
Just to continue off of what you were saying about the idea that like maybe Lottie was trying to court Glenn or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, I was wondering that. I did want to also bring up something that I think Aztec or maybe somebody else brought up. The idea of Glenn trying to causing the massacre to try to have a chain grant undo something in the past, grant a wish or whatever through that. We now know that it can actually happen, or at least the intention of the Abyss can do it, because Break apparently had it happen. What?
No, that's
Break
required.
had-
What? I don't know what you just said, Shadow.
Don't know if all the murders are required though.
There is a
No,
lot of
well-
murder required.
Break had it happen though in like the classic time travel way of like you can change time, sure, but you can't change fate. And I
Yeah.
think that's gonna
Yeah.
end up becoming
Yeah.
prevalent later. Especially with how much time travel is going on. Just the idea that like, yeah, you can try, but the way that things are going, they're set in that path.
Right. We'll get into all the break stuff. There's a lot of break stuff to talk about with that whole stuff that happened. Let me see what else we have to break
See,
down.
I took
before
it
we
as
get
less
that.
a full-on predestination thing and more as a things can change, but you don't know how they will.
Okay, let's just get into it then with that then. So
Oh wait,
Sorry.
the song that Oz was curious about, and
Yes.
Glenn and Elliot both composed apparently. It was called Lacey, which is
Yes.
just an anagram of Alice.
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
I
see.
didn't catch that either.
I
Nah.
see. I see.
Big brain moment.
Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. So Break's situation here. We get to see flashbacks about what happened with Break to cause several things. First of all, Break apparently used to be a knight to protect
White Knight,
a white knight to protect.
which it's
Um,
a character in Alice in Wonderland.
Oh,
also a chess
I
piece.
see. That's true.
Yeah, and
I
a
mean
chess
that's true.
piece.
That's important. Okay,
Oh,
that's very
Homestuck
important.
reference.
Yeah, that's what that
And
is.
you
That's
could
what
have
it is.
argued it was an Umi Neko reference, but
No, it's clearly Homestuck. Okay, listen.
There's big times at home stuck.
I hate it here.
He was a knight to protect one of the a different family. I don't remember the name of the family. This family got slaughtered.
What?
While he
Not
while
important.
while he was away for like a moment, like if he was going to like the store real quick or whatever, he comes back, everybody's dead. And
Everybody except the little girl he was escorting.
yes. And so he forms a contract with the chain and starts murdering several people to appease the chain in the hopes of the wish being granted of going back in time to undo that event from happening, which there's some other weirdness going on in the Abyss once he does fulfill this, but that's beyond the point. We'll get into that later. But Break essentially gets the intention of the Abyss to agree to do it after they take Break's eye and give it to the Cheshire Cat. They do fix the event so that it didn't happen like that.
I just want to say that moment was sick as hell.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was.
Yeah.
But they do undo that event. However, the family still die. Not only does the family still die, the little girl he was escorting
Also dies.
but she forms a contract with a chain prior to try to appease a chain herself to try to bring her family back too. So it was even worse in a way. And so Break feels even worse for that as a result. So we do know it can work, but it doesn't necessarily stop. And specifically, the family died because they were a family that was supporting one of the four dukedoms or whatever at the time, the four big houses, and people were starting to be opposed to the. That house was opposed to one of the noble houses, I think, and so they were taken out. Unless I'm getting it backwards. They were essentially assassinated because of the political stuff that was happening related to the houses. So they were just trying to wipe out competition in that kind of stuff. And because I immediately thought to myself, okay, you're going to go back in time and undo that, but if they were assassinated for political reasons, they're just going to try to assassinate them again. And then they did. So I was like, okay, well, interesting. An attempt was made, I suppose. An attempt was made. But yeah, it's one of the things where like it can undo time, but sometimes some events may be tied through fate to eventually happen anyways. In whatever way. I mean, you can only stop time or reverse time so much to like save someone's life before they just die of old age anyways, right? So it's you know, I mean,
well, and like Lady Galaxy was saying, maybe it's a little bit of less predestination and more like you were saying of like political history. Like if they had been killed through sheer happenstance, like a carriage getting knocked over, and then they died again through an accident, like that would definitely feel a lot more like predestination. But them dying the same way twice amidst like political controversy, like that definitely feels maybe a little less like predestination.
It was something like they didn't die that night, they just died a little later, I think was what
like
it was.
I think it was like 4 years later or something like that.
Yeah, it was like 4 years
it's like
later.
4.5 years later. I think there's a difference. It's kind of still predestination, but it's predestination that somebody chose.
Yeah.
Which feels different from predestination as this idea of like going full like final destination, you know, of like, the universe just being like, all right, fuck these people in particular.
Yep. Yeah. And those kind of situations make me think back to Steins Gate and how they tried to incorporate some of that stuff.
Will of Steins Gate joke.
Yeah. I mean, one of the big things about Steins Gate, the attractor fields are a concept, and the attractor fields imply you can make a whole bunch of changes to that world line you're on as much as you can, but if that world line is still within that attractor field, then certain events just will happen. Like a character's death.
You have to fully jump the line.
Yeah, you have to make a significant enough change to affect it in a big enough way to change the attractor field that your world line is on. And the attractor fields are pretty much just a categorization of events that would happen. But they have ways to like measure out what world line they're on, and if it's within a certain range, that means you're in a certain attractor field. And you have to basically move this value in order to be in a different attractor field. All this is to say those. Basically, maybe. All this is just to say, like, Steins Gate tries to categorize this as, like, if you're in this world line, these events will happen in some way, shape, or form. Like, a character is destined to die, and they'll try everything in the world to prevent someone or something from killing them, and even when they do that, they will just randomly die from a heart attack, which shows you 100% without a doubt this character will die unless you make a significant enough change. However, they do address this later on with a different thing where technically you don't necessarily need a death to occur. You just need the idea of the death to occur for certain parts of observers in some cases. And so if you were to take the Pandora heart situation where he goes back and has them alter time, you could have done it so that like the family is reported to have died so that they stop being assassinated.
Like their death or something.
Yeah, but actually, they get to escape and live on, in secret. That's one way that you could try to handle that. Obviously, Pandora Hearts is not really trying to focus on that kind of narrative though. But these are things that I did think about. For like potential ways to try to get around, but I just wonder if like the chains are just promising this stuff in like a deal with the devil kind of manner, where they're just like, yeah, I'll grant your wish, yeah, definitely, it'll all work out for you, but like actually they're just like making it still happen anyways to like fuck with them, like I don't know how much these chains actually care about actually fulfilling these wishes, or if they just want these people to suffer. Things to think about.
I feel like
in
it
terms
varies.
Of that. Yeah.
Pretty heavily, because there's also like Alice for as much as she wants to pretend she doesn't, she does very deeply care at this point.
Yeah. The intention of
I think
this.
she's also just trying to realize she cares.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we had a whole bit this time where, and I was glad we acknowledged it. I was like, does she care about her memories anymore, her lost memories? And Oz was wondering it. It's like, she hasn't brought it up in a while. Does she even still want them after everything that happened? Does she even still want to know about herself? And then we had her address it, albeit it was from a crazy dude. What was his name? Rufus Barma or whatever. The crazy dude.
Duke Parma.
Get on my nerves.
Oh my god, that guy. Okay, I was fine with everything about what he was doing. The way he talks, I needed it to stop. He got very upset. Yeah, he got very upset. So I'm trying to remember how the order of events. At some point, we just start the chapter with our gang being invited to somewhere, a fancy house of a duke or whatever. And
it's some shit. I don't remember.
It was an opera house, yeah.
Yeah. And this is the meeting with Rufus Barma, who basically appears to be a person who values information dealing and collecting information. Knowledge is power in this character's mind. He goes a whole speech about it, about knowledge being like the ultimate skill, and all that, and then he tries to trade information with Oz in terms of like asking Oz a question, and then basically, I'm trying to think if I remember it right. He basically knew the answer Oz should give, but he didn't expect Oz to actually give it, and then Oz actually gave it, and then he was just like,
expected Oz to be starting his redemption arc.
You know, he's just like you, basically. And he was just like broke. He was like, what? He's just like, what? This is not right. This can't be. I need more information. That information was incorrect. He was like freaking out about it and like zoomed away. And then it was like, we got to show how this guy looked at first. Okay.
He also got real upset because Oz's reaction to him was, hey man, how's it going?
Yes. Cool. It's just like, you don't feel like reacting to this at all? Oh, I see. You're the broken child. I see.
You're the broken.
I don't think that's what he said exactly, but that was the implication of his flowery speech that he always gave.
No, it was he was straight up like, "Oh, you're the freaky kid, aren't you?"
You're one freaky kid, Oz.
You know, I'm trying to find the pictures of the guy flying around.
99% test and is completely pissed off. He's mad. He's haggard.
He's haggard.
He is haggard. This is true. Okay, here we go. Here's the photo of him.
Now we're clowning around. All right, you want us to clown around? This is it.
Listen. I'm showing stream now. This is what the guy looked like. He was just hanging from the ceiling, being like, "Hey, everybody!"
It's silly. I just didn't like this design. He's just Monopoly Man. Like,
okay, it's not just me who saw Monopoly Man.
He is Monopoly Man.
Monopoly Man. Why would I say this?
It's like you want to play a game.
Jigsaw. You want to play a game?
No, that's Yu-Gi-Oh.
What is this creature? Like Alice is reacting how he expects, and Gil's face is just like, what the fuck? And Jack is just like, are you the Duke?
Yeah.
Is that you? And he's just like, are you? Is that all you have to say? That's all? That's it? Yeah, you're the.
Why are you crying?
Shadow, you can just safely assume that Chap is going to mix up Jack and Oz at least 20 times per stream. Don't even question it at this point. Just let it happen.
It's gonna happen, okay? It's basically the same character to me at this point. Listen.
Andy, just because a crime happens doesn't mean I should let it pass.
You should, actually, because otherwise I'm gonna get annoyed.
Might all look the same to me, I don't know.
Well, you can be annoyed, but you should also be right, so...
I am always right, okay? Always.
No, you're
Anyways.
You were
Yeah.
just
Damn.
Wow. All right, I didn't ask. Anyways, so Jack, okay, our favorite character, Jack, definitely not Oz. All right.
Mm-hmm.
The great and powerful.
All right. So Oz is just like not reacting to the crazy clown guy at first, and then he like runs away. It's a whole thing where they're sort of fighting them, but not really. They're like, I mean, all of it was illusion memes anyways, including the funny guy, the Monopoly man was just not really there. Break had to like have a conversation with them at some point, being like, okay, so you're not actually here for information from Oz. You didn't invite us here from Oz. You invited us to talk to me, right? So what's actually going on here? What's the deal here? And they wanted to trade information because they learned a little bit more about Break, and they wanted to find out what exactly happened when Break went to the Abyss, because it was revealed to us that Break had entered an illegal contract Break currently has in Cuse. Because he currently has an illegal contract, I'd imagine that's what that means. Because he said that this is like your second time doing it, which is why he's on the verge of dying again, probably.
He's not gonna die. He's not gonna die.
Oh yeah,
He's got a whole
definitely.
different
You
life.
fucking better die.
Damn.
Excuse me.
It sounded like like Chap was saying, like he's in a second contract and he's already like he should be dead.
Not
I
contract
know.
2. Double or nothing, AD.
He's not gonna die.
Is it like the first Incuse is like the one that he still has and he's just going for round 2 Electric Boogaloo at this point?
Well, so
It's just like he got another credit card, basically. He's just gonna die.
You could just do that, yeah.
Yeah, he's not gonna die.
Double or
Yeah,
nothing.
definitely not. Yeah, I was trying to understand the mechanics of that. Like, you can just, well, I mean, this is the first case we know of so far where somebody had the contract and then was able to actually continue afterwards, living. So I was just like, is this actually these are my early thoughts about this? Is this actually the same first break, or did the first break actually die, but the results of change in the past mean that this is now the second break, and now they have a different
like
contract from the first one?
Alt memories or something like that.
Yeah.
Explain that. We need to talk about parallel universes.
Well, because I'm like, we've established
Just
time.
like jump timelines.
Because like we have time travel shenanigans here now, and you know, I don't mind. Again, the time travel shenanigans have not gotten out of hand with this so far for me. There's just more of it being involved. All of it seems to so far be making sense in the ways that's been introduced so far, as far as I can tell. And so, you know, I don't mind that aspect of it, but I just wonder how deep it actually goes now. You know, because I'm like sitting up in my chair, like, oh my god, this author actually knows how to properly implement some of this stuff. You know, and I was worried I was worried for a bit for like it being a little too much. I think I've said in one of the past streams, I'm like, if you know, if this character is from the past or whatever, I'd be fine with that. But if there's more than that, I don't know how I'd feel about that. So far, it feels like the author's doing pretty well about that. I think the only thing that would upset me a little bit is if it turned out just basically everybody that is the main character from our story is just from 100 years ago, and for whatever reason they're just in the present through other random means. They're just currently in the present, and I'm just like, okay, but why did we have to do it like that? It feels like a weird way to roundabout involve your time travel shenanigans for literally everybody. If everybody's from 100 years in the past, with the main stories taking place in the modern day, and they all have shown up in the modern day through random other memes, but we have the time travel shenanigans, why did they all arrive at the same exact fucking time period of this stuff going on? You know, like things like that is things where I'm just like, that'd be a little too much, but it wouldn't ruin my reading experience. It would just have me be like, yeah, I kind of, you know, it was good with that, but I just kind of wish they didn't make literally every character just from 100 years ago, and that was their big secret. Because
reunion.
Because I wonder if that's just what it's going to be. Everybody's big secret is they're all from 100 years in the past, and they all have repressed trauma. Everybody, in some way.
It's a trauma reunion.
Like,
it's actually the only one who's from the here and now.
Because like Vincent also doesn't remember, because when Break went into the past, into the Abyss, apparently Break saw the events of Sublier happening at the time, and he saw Vincent carrying Gil in the aftermath of it. Vincent doesn't remember any of that because supposedly Vincent doesn't remember any of it because
Allegedly.
through whatever means. But I mean, the main focus of the story is people with repressed trauma or whatever, and addressing it and going over it and all that kind of stuff. Which again, I still do really like how this manga is kind of handling that concept, especially when it comes to Oz and Alice. Much more so than how Rose and Maiden was trying to address improving as a person with like a social issue type deal, if that makes sense. But yeah, here it's been pretty good with like handling that stuff, I think. And
I feel like I could do with a little bit more focus on Alice, actually, because it always feels so like
I agree.
Yep.
It balances them in terms of screen time, but it feels like Alice's is almost an afterthought a lot of the time.
Yeah, and now they're making Alice to be jealous of the fact that Oz is hanging out with other people more so than her, and we're focusing on the romance angle a little bit more than like the Alice repressed trauma angle. Yeah, I mean, we had the bit where the funny clown guy made her actually vocalize that she wants her memories back, but that was kind of a goofy way to do that, I think. But it was more reasonable when Elliot did it, not so when the funny clown guy did it. But whatever.
Maybe the reason that I like the one shot so much is because I don't like Alice as a character, and it was the one time that I was able to get rid of her and enjoy the story without her being there.
I like Alice if she had more of a role. Like, I mean, I do like Alice in general, but she needs more of a role. We've had multiple times now where they just kind of abandoned her to progress the plot.
Alice is very easily my favorite character, but she does spend the entire time just being like shoved off to the side.
Yeah.
While Oz goes and does like actual plot things, and it would be nice if the secondary protagonist also did things.
Right.
It feels like half the characters are characters and the other half are just plot devices.
Yeah, I mean,
that reminds me of this line specifically.
Let's see here. What is this line? It says
kind of, but I think Alice is going back and forth between the two a lot.
It says, "Where's Alice? I left her behind." Why would you do that? Okay, I see.
That's it. That's the entire manga.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all of it.
She's just not an interesting character for me. Honestly, none of these characters are interesting.
Okay, I'm gonna have to fight you now. I'm gonna have to fight you now.
No. I'm enjoying the plot. That's it. I don't know.
You don't like any of these characters, bro? That's fucked up.
It's not that I don't like any of the characters. Is that they don't do anything for me. I don't have a little guy in the manga to be excited about.
I think I get what you're saying. There's not really any characters that really, really stand out to you. You may like enjoy how they act in the story, but these are not characters that you're necessarily going to remember when we're done reading. Is that what you're trying to get at?
Yeah, exactly.
That I can understand. I can understand
for Emily,
that.
Right?
Of course.
That's a big reason why I have such a problem with, or why fandom culture is something that's so important to me, is because in order to be able to feel like I enjoyed media, I need to come away from it feeling like I can do something with the characters or the plot beyond the source material. Which I know that a lot of people will disagree with that, but like I have nothing. I have nothing, no anything to really extrapolate from the characters in the state that they're being given to me now. So I'm just going through the effort of reading the plot to be able to get to the conclusion, but I'm not like having fun with the characters. I'm reading it to read it. Does that make sense?
I see. I understand. I understand. A part of it might also be fueled by the fact that you basically had to read like 6 volumes all in one sitting too.
But I don't know. The other thing is that, and this is crazy coming from somebody whose first animes were Toradora and Familiar of Zero.
Sure.
I don't like Alice's character archetype. Tsundere
And that's
get
fair.
the fuck on my nerves.
That's understandable. I like the characters, but I mean that's understandable if you are against that trope or whatever. I think I would especially understand why you're against it with Alice doing it, because she doesn't really get a lot of screen time even doing it that much. So it's not even like you really get to. It's like last week we found out they've only been hanging out and doing all this shit for like a week, and apparently Oz would already die for her. And I'm like, bro, like hold up. What?
Bro, Oz would die for a fun lake bar. It's not a high bar.
Oz would both die for her and also just abandon her to go to the plot.
The other reason that I feel like I compare it to Umineko is because there's currently so many strings and like mysteries to be following that I tap out. You have to be figuring out, what's going on with Oz, what's going on with Vincent, what's going on with Gil, what's going on with Break, what's going on with Pandora, what's going on with the Abyss. And it's like, we're not at a point where it's starting to come together. So I don't want to work on trying to figure it out. Because I know that I don't have all the puzzle pieces.
Well, it is a little... I understand. Yep, go on.
I think that it is not... I'm the same way too. Like, I do try to figure out the story. But I think from this story, I've just stopped trying to figure things out. I'm just reading it. I'm just enjoying it for what it is.
Though, is like that I have no reason to get attached to it. I have no deeper thoughts because I can't have deeper thoughts. I don't have enough content to have deeper thoughts. So then I don't have deeper thoughts. So then I don't get engaged with the media so that I can then have deeper thoughts.
I think it definitely depends more on like whether you resonate with certain characters. Because like for me, I was like, yep, Break is my favorite character. Emily is the favorite character.
I will admit, he's very funny.
I do like he, I don't know. I guess it's hard because Alice in Wonderland stuff, it's always nonsensical. And there's stuff that is very serious. And then there's things that just don't make sense. Even in the book. I can understand like if you don't have anything to latch onto, because I think I did feel like about that way about when I like read Alice in Wonderland itself. And now that I'm reading this, I'm just like I'm reliving like the first time that I read that book. I'm just like, I don't get it. Like, okay, they don't even give a name to important characters. Like, sorry to go back to Alice in Wonderland, but
No problem, go ahead.
it's my only point of reference. And
the five of cards.
Her sister doesn't even have a name.
Oh.
There is a dog that's just called Puppy. He doesn't even have a name. They just call him Puppy.
I mean, fair
there's
enough.
so many.
That's a
things
Kojima
like
naming
that,
convention, okay?
But
Once
then
again,
they'll have moments where they are reenacting some kind of event, and then when I look it up, it's like, oh, this is Lewis Carroll's way of talking about a certain governing official that had a scandal or something. And I'm like, what? How am I supposed to figure that out? Like, I'm supposed to go in time machine and figure it out? Like, so I don't. It's something about Alice in Wonderland, I think, just in general, that you just have to like strap in and just go for the ride.
Yeah.
Just don't even think about it. I don't even think about it anymore. I was trying to get deep. I think the first couple of volumes, I tried to do that because I was like looking at the backgrounds and stuff. Like, no, I'm just gonna go for, if Alice wants to announce that she wants a sausage, okay.
The other part of it also might be the fact that the character that I related to was Oz, and now that he's changing as a character, I have nothing to latch onto.
He's changing for the better. Wait, hold up. Wait, you're supposed to be learning the lessons with that.
No.
This must be why you don't care about Elliot, okay? Elliot will be yelling at you like, stop that. You gotta fucking move forward. You gotta move fucking forward, okay?
I will will also add, I feel like the character development that went into Break should have gone to more important characters. Like, I like Break, I like his
He's
story,
wonderful.
but I'm like, why didn't Oz get that, like, oh, you know, this is the real past that he had, and this is why he's reliving this stuff because he's forced to do this with time travel shenanigans and some deeper betrayal or some failure on his part. And I'm like, why couldn't the other characters get that too? Like, we're just expected to be like, oh, okay, he's gonna sacrifice himself for this character. Like, we don't even know him. But they were able to do that with Break. Like, I understand why Break is attached to was it Sharon?
Yep.
And they give little slice of life, but also deep lore of his background. It's a good balance. Like, you can understand the character. The other characters, it's just like, but why is he so silly though? Like, why is he doing, like, didn't you just kill your family? Like, what's going on?
And even with Break's backstory, I'm like, I appreciated Break's backstory. I liked it. But then I looked at all that and I was like, okay, but why does Break act the way he does now? I don't understand that. It feels very disconnected.
When he dropped
Represses
the
trauma.
Shakespearean
He occasionally remembers
like
he's named
language.
His name is supposed to be
that's what I'm
Kevin. What is it? Kevin
When he
Levengard or
changed
something?
yeah, Rengard or
Kevin Levin is
Rengard.
crazy.
But when did he decide to stop speaking like in Elizabethan? You know, like, why did he stop? I wish he would continue.
I mean, he kind of had to hide his identity.
Wouldst thou?
He is they wanted, man.
That is true. That is true. He did kill a lot of people.
Wouldst thou continue to speaketh in such a manner? Please, Kevin. I'm glad he changed his name. I think that was like the best thing he ever thought of.
That's career move we could have made.
So he went from Kevin to Xerxes Break.
Literally Persian.
The juniest ass
Persian
fucking
name Xerxes.
I'll be honest. I see Xerxes and I just think of a single South Park episode.
I'm just thinking of the currency from Familiar Zero.
I see Xerxes and I just think of like an Xbox Live gamer tag. Like we just put X's in there. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know how familiar people are with Persian history, but I'm pretty sure he was like one of the earliest rulers of
I've watched
Persia.
300 if that counts.
Oh. I have
Well,
no idea.
yeah, I mean, he was cool. Like,
I had no
but
idea that
also
was
very,
like a
you'd
related to that.
have it's similar to naming yourself Caesar. Like, it
Oh,
is like
okay,
that kind
I
of
see.
inflated ego
Oh, okay.
level. You know, like, it's like, yeah, I'm Louis the 14th. Like, no, bitch, sit down. You're Kevin.
We have Kevin and Gilbert. Listen. Like names like Vincent.
Raven.
Vincent's a cool name, okay? Oz, I can accept. All right. Gilbert, Kevin,
Yeah.
Doug.
Raven.
I mean, it was from the choices of like Napoleon or he landed on, you know, the humble Xerxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna bring up something related to. We were just talking about breaks max. Oh yeah, I already. Yeah, what do you got? What do you got?
See, the problem is with you saying that is that I'm Ellie and Andy's scenario.
You just cut out.
Oh, you cut out.
And I'm Oz. Wait, Shadow and I had a very interesting conversation last night that basically boiled down to, yeah, I'm Oz. Don't talk to
And
me
I'm
about
Elliot.
it. Well, no, you don't have traumatizing nightmares about you killing people, do you? I feel like that's something we should know
not yet.
about.
I almost made a
time.
I almost made a
Not
joke.
that.
I almost made a joke the other day in spoiler zone. I think Andy was typing, "Oh, thank you for remembering that I'm a Leo." Smiley face. Yes, I am a Leo. I almost made a joke back. I didn't type it out because I thought it sounded meaner typing it. Okay, but the joke would be replying to that saying, "You're a Leo and I'm an Elliot. Shut the fuck up," because that's how Elliot is to Leo. But I was like, I thought about typing. I was like, wait, that sounds mean to actually type out. Okay, it's like,
Oh man. No, I mean, like, I'm at the very least, I won't get into it, but I'm self-aware enough to know that I am like Oz and I do relate to him. And maybe that's why the fact that he's so quickly shifting was kind of like, I don't want to say it like this, but kind of a turnoff for me from the general story.
right.
But also the flip side of that is that I am interested to see what it does for Gil, because I know that there has been some hint that it's like I am something that you guys would know about me. Maybe you don't. I am a sucker for like Hikaru and Kaoru, like in Oran High School Host Club. The idea of one of them being just one step ahead or two steps ahead, just enough that the person that's falling behind can see, but like nobody else can perceive it. It's such a minute difference in the characters that is causing this rift that they won't address. I eat that shit up, okay? Sam and Dean from Supernatural, right? The whole rift that they had behind him, it was a little more evident then, but the idea that Sam was always just a couple steps behind Dean that made him like inferior, that's what they're about to do with Gil, and the fact that Oz is moving forward while Gil's still behind 10 years ago to when, you know, he tried to fucking kill Oz. Like, I'm about to eat that shit up, but right now I'm bored.
Wow. Well, right now we have Vincent trying to convince Gil to kill Alice. This seems to be where, because they're just trying to be like, oh, you care about Oz, right? You want Oz. You feel the Incubus moving.
Alice.
All you gotta do is kill Alice now before it's too late. You should do that. You should do that, Gil. You should do that. But don't worry, I'll still be there for you after you murder. I thought the implication as well with the last lines was like that Gil might have been the one who caused the Sablier or did some of the Sablier killings as well, and that we're meant to think that Vincent was the cause, but actually it was Gil. I wasn't sure if that was what I was supposed to take out of that.
I don't think Vincent was the cause either, though. I think he was like a byproduct, and he was just like a little too into it.
He's just a little guy. I mean, obviously he's probably not the cause or whatever, but one of the people who was doing the murders that day was what I think it's supposed to be implied to us happened, or like you're meant to think that happened, but the implication I got from the lines at the end of this volume were kind of telling me that maybe Gilbert was the one who did that, and then like now Vincent's just there for them. I don't know.
The thing that was interesting to me is that obviously to Alice, who is being tormented by Vincent growing up, and like to Xerxes, who's kind of being taken advantage by Vincent for the secret, Vincent is painted to obviously be this kind of villain, right? Like there's something going on that is making him seem like the bad guy. But it was so interesting to me that when they met in the abyss and they came face to face with Xerxes or like Kevin, I think at the time, he was carrying Gilbert.
Yes.
There's like he has some kind of like weird unhealthy obsession with Gilbert, but like whatever is going on in his head, whatever fantasy like he's in, obviously he still cares about Gilbert no matter what.
Yeah.
And that's been the case for like the whole thing. It also is interesting that almost makes it seem like the abyss was a sanctuary for him during that, but I don't know. I don't remember where I was going with that.
My theory at this point is that based on the lines that we got towards the end of this week's reading, my theory is that Vincent, Gil was the one who did the murders during the Sablier stuff, not Vincent, but Vincent found him, and Gil now doesn't remember these things, repressed trauma memes, whatever kind of way is happening. And so the reason why Vincent really wanted, fucked with Break in order to get Break to destroy Alice's memories that they recovered from the Cheshire place was more so to protect Gil than it was to reveal whatever Alice did. So that Gil wouldn't come to be found out that Gil was actually the one who did those murders. That's my theory at this point. Why Gil would do the murders, I have no idea, but this is my game theory at this point for why Vincent is acting the way he is.
I mean, if Gil... Well, no, that wouldn't make sense, I guess, chronologically. But, like, if Oz is Jack, what if Gil is Glenn?
I wondered that too, because we have not... I mean, we only briefly saw Glenn, and I had wondered if, like... a part of me wondered if Glenn is the father of Vincent and Gil, or at least Gil, and because I forget if they're actually supposed to be blood related or whatever. I kept getting confused with that. They were supposed to be adopted in the Night Ray family, but it seemed like they were actually brothers 100 years ago, and then they just both went into the present and then got adopted the same family together or whatever. I couldn't tell if they're actually supposed to be blood related or whatever, but I had assumed potentially that Glenn is actually the father of Gil, and that Jack is actually the father of Oz, and then for whatever reasons Oz ended up in the future and under the being raised by this other guy who is not his father or whatever. These are my assumptions. I have no idea though.
Yeah, I think Jack might have died. I was gonna say Jack might have died before Oz, but then obviously time travel. So
time travel means we could do anything. Okay, Jack could just be a part of the squad.
We can't do anything. We can do a lot of things, not anything. Okay.
Listen, there's a lot of stuff that you can do. If you
also, break some rules like Sailor Moon.
Well, the Abyss is just... By the way, when we talked earlier about, when Baguetti was talking about Alice in Wonderland, like, things not making sense or whatever, because it's supposed to be, like, madness or whatever, that entire Abyss scene with Break and seeing Alice, finding out that the intention of the Abyss is Alice, and then, like, everything else... There was a lot of stuff happening there, and my eyes are just like, okay, I should probably be focusing to this. It's probably important, but also I have no clue what anybody is saying about anything here at all, and I don't know if it's meant to make sense. I don't know if any of this is meant to make sense. So I'll just say, haha, yay, and then figure it out later.
Yeah, it really lines up with, like, the book, because it's the same way. Alice is dropped into this fantastical world, and every character keeps telling her, you can't be Alice. You're not Alice. Alice was, like, way better than you are. And they just, like, diss her all the time. It's really funny.
Jesus.
And they're like, yeah, there's no way you can be Alice because, like, you suck or you're ugly. Like, they're really mean to her during the story. And they're not, like, willing to help her at all. Like, they don't answer her questions. They don't, like, it's like similar as, like, you're just like, wait, why are these people obsessed with this person called Alice? Is there another Alice? Like, was there someone here before? It's very similar, very, very, very similar, and just as confusing.
Yeah.
Look, all we really know is that Echo hates Vincent, and therefore so should we.
So yes, I was going to bring up there was a couple funny moments from this week. They were, like, not focused on the plot. One is we randomly, after all of that, just have Oz go on a date with Echo. That
it was cute.
It was cute. Okay, it was cute. I do like Echo. I wish Echo had more screen time. But also Vincent gets weird with her, so I don't know. I don't know.
That feels like kind of a running thing for this manga. It's just, I like this character. I wish they did more.
They dressed Echo up. They went on, like, a date together on, like, a Blue Feather Festival date thing, and then put Echo in this outfit.
It was
the outfit
really
looked cute. It was a cute little chapter. Okay, it was nice. I was like, oh, I like Echo. I want more Echo. The other funny moment was at some point earlier on in the reading this week, they just start drinking. They just start drinking.
That was weird.
Uncle Oscar shows up, is just like, hey, I brought some juice. It's got alcohol in the juice. But
There's a point in the story where I also start drinking. So
I liked.
Weird. I didn't like that.
I mean, I understand that because it had
We're gonna
Alice
fight
being like,
one,
"I'm hot.
baby."
I'm gonna start taking off my clothes or whatever." They're like, "No, don't do that or whatever." Like, I understand. I just thought it was funny because Gil showed up drunk in front of Oz, be like, "Listen, I gotta tell you something. You gotta believe in yourself, man. You gotta not be so hard on yourself, okay? You got this, okay? All right."
And then it like referenced one of the bit comics that had been in one of the volumes earlier, where he was doing like trying to be like, was it like, do I call myself Obe or what? I don't remember.
Yeah,
what
it was like
was.
Ore versus Boku
Ore
and all
or
that.
Boku.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. Which yeah.
And
That's,
him like going back and forth and fucking them up also.
And we had a more serious moment between Break and Oz at that time too, though, because Break was apparently just pretending to be drunk the whole time. But it got to, but he was like, the reason why I'm pretending to be drunk is because I otherwise people are gonna feel like, that's weird. The vibes are weird because I'm not like taking part with them or whatever. I'm trying to like make sure the mood's okay or whatever. And I was just like, oh, I didn't know you actually gave a shit about that. Interesting to learn. And then we found out his whole backstory, and I'm just like, okay, well, that's more understandable. Why has he got to be the Joker every other time? I don't know. I mean, that'll happen when you also have to murder a lot of. I guess that's what happens when you have to murder a lot of people to try to grant this wish, and then it gets granted, and then they still die. So I don't know. I guess maybe I would turn into the Joker too. I don't know.
I'm still not entirely sure how the murder actually plays into any part of the chains. Like, it doesn't seem to help at all.
It seemed like it was supposed to be some kind of like either life force thing, or I mean, the way it was sort of explained towards the end of this volume was that the Incuse moves as the connection between the chain and the person becomes stronger, and then if it becomes, if it goes all the way around and you can't like overcome the chain just consuming your whole essence through this. If you can overcome that, then maybe you get to meet the intention of the abyss, and maybe it'll grant you your time travel wish. Otherwise, you just get overtaken. It seemed like a kind of like a life force thing for the chains in order to live. They kind of like feed off it, but I wasn't entirely sure. There's a lot of stuff we might learn about later. But that was one of those things where we just don't fully know yet. But we'll see. What other memes do we have to talk about for this week?
During the booth Echo, they mentioned that they just hate Vincent. They don't know why he insists always sit on his lap for some reason.
Yeah. I because Oz is talking to her like, so do you like Vincent, right? And she's like, no, I fucking hate it. But also, she is like a weird emotionless thing or whatever, or monotone with how she acts or whatever. Yeah, because she's an echo.
Finally, main character.
She's a mirror to Oz's whole thing.
Because
because Oz presents it as sort of happy-go-lucky almost, but Echo is very much presenting it as I think a bit more straightforwardly.
Right.
Echo's also just doing the generic "I am not a person, I am a tool" thing.
Yeah.
Same
Echo.
Yeah, they're both doing the same thing.
Echo. What was the funny bit that I remember? It was like when she gets dressed up or whatever, and she's like, Oz like, "Are you having fun?" And she's like, "Yes." But she has like a very like depressed looking face or like awkward looking face. She's like, "Yes, I am having fun. This is a lot of fun that we are having right now." Like
a lot of fun is being had.
You see this? You see the face right here? This is fun.
Do you think a depressed person could make this?
She's like, listen, I have to record this. I have to log this in my diary real quick for my records, okay? And then the records are like, good punch that happened here on the street. It was very funny. And I think he even commented like, you have like a little quirky writing style. It's almost like you got a little personality here. What's up with that? Huh?
And she's like, how fucking dare you?
I do not know what you mean.
You imply I have a personality.
Honestly, same.
Yeah.
I like Echo. I like a lot of these characters, you know. I like Elliot. I like Echo. Some of these side characters, I wish they had far more of a focus in the main squad. But, you know, again, this is different than something like Umineko, where like there's a lot of new characters introduced. And with the Umineko, the new characters they introduced are like a part of the story for like the rest of the time in some way, pretty much.
With one exception.
Pretty much. And with here, I mean, there with Umineko it was easier to do that because they were basically just in one location, right?
I think with Umineko, it builds on itself until it hits a somewhat natural stopping point.
Yeah.
And then it like resets and you have a shift in focus to a different set of characters.
Yeah.
I think here it just it doesn't really keep characters around for very long, and it just cycles like through new ones and then bringing back old ones and then new ones and bringing back old ones to do more with them. And
but like also that's sometimes the nature of mysteries, but also like, am I gonna feel that way now and then end up feeling like it does culminate into one turning point later? Because like if you think even with Umineko, when you think about it at the end of it retrospectively, like yeah, okay, the way that the characters were introduced, it makes sense. But when we were still in like episode 3, episode 4, like I think I probably felt the same way then that I do now. And it's just a matter of like, am I having these harsh judgments because I don't have the full picture? Or is this actually a valid criticism of the writing and how the characters are being introduced?
The problem is we have the power of hindsight that we not go with this. We're not quite sure.
Well,
exactly.
I think
both can be true.
Sure, yeah. An important thing to keep in mind, too, is a lot of times the mystery stories, you know, as long as it's not like something where just the answer is just where the enjoyment is. Like, I mean, because there's case for this, but a lot of times with the mystery stories...
Don't forget the heart.
Yeah, a lot of them, in my experience, are a lot more enjoyable on the second read-through once you do have the big picture. And it is like, you have more of an understanding of the mystery. I think it's because when you're reading mystery stuff, at least for me, I'm trying to notice the characters too, but I am focused more on the actual like mystery of things happening, trying to like figure them out or trying to like guess what is going to happen and all these things. And it makes me not focus so much on some other elements of it at the time. Whereas when I finish it and then I go back to reread it in the future or whatever, now I already have that. I already understand where it's going to go with that, and I can more appreciate how we got there. And Umineko kind of allows you to kind of do that all the time because of the nature of it looping. So like, you know, once you get towards the ending bits, you already understand like a lot of the things that are like that were established. So as you get further and further with it, you have new things that are getting revealed for the mystery while you're also appreciating the past mysteries already over and over again. And similar could be said for here, where it may be the case that you are not having as great of a time now currently, even though you can appreciate the characters, they're just not really standing out. It may be the case where towards the end, once all the mystery bullshit of like what the hell is gonna happen with this character, what's the deal with this guy, once that's all out of the way, you may appreciate what they were meant to do earlier on more so, and then like grow attached to them more, and then the second read through might be better. This is one of those series where I definitely feel like for me, a second read-through would be required for me to like have these characters feel significantly more stand out, as opposed to many other series that we read or whatever. Like Dorohedoro is a series that we've read where all of those characters, for like our main groups, like already like easily stand out. Like Kaiman, Nikaido, Noi, Shin, like all of them are like characters that like and I mean it helps there too because they're also just like uniquely designed, each of them in a very distinctive way. Here, I won't lie to you, sometimes I'll be like, is this Break or is this Vincent that I'm looking at right now?
How dare you?
Like I
I've
had
had
that
a lot
happen.
of that too.
Like I had that happen a couple of times where I'm just like, which one is these two? I don't, and then I figured it out later.
Mistaken those characters for each other. I do
Okay.
have to say.
Sure. All right. Fair enough.
Very proud of that.
I mean, you guys can already tell. I already keep screwing up whether his name's Jack or Oz. Like those two characters are blending together for me already.
Which may or may not be accurate.
That's true. That's very true. Listen,
That's part of the problem.
One thing I will say, okay, Emily does stand out. Okay, I'm not mixing Emily up with anybody. All right.
I mean, I honestly, I'd be surprised if you could.
Emily hasn't been on screen. I don't think was Emily even there at all this week too, though? Was Emily there?
Yes.
I think.
Where is Emily?
Everywhere in the wall.
In your heart.
True, though.
If you bust down one of your balls right now, you will find her.
Emily is there.
Oh, impressive.
Andy,
She's watching you.
What were you gonna say, Andy?
What did I do?
there's an Emily inside you
What
that
did you
believes
do?
in you.
What did you do, Andy?
Ew, get her out of here. I don't know what I did.
What? I don't know what's going on. Are you okay?
Am I?
I don't know. You just started saying, what did I do?
I must have made a noise that sounded like I was gonna say something.
Are you gonna say something?
Do I have something to say?
No, so I was like,
I don't know. Do you? This is what I'm asking.
That's
They're
up to
asking
you.
I can't
themselves. Give
answer
them a
that.
second. Give them a second.
Chap, that's up to you.
That's true.
Did Andy have anything to say?
Maybe.
As
Yeah,
leader of
did
book
I have
club.
anything to say?
I'm gonna say no.
I don't know.
I'm gonna say
We'll
no.
see.
You
And
don't have anything to say.
You're right. You know what? Shut the fuck up. You're right. Maybe me sitting down and reading 6 volumes in a row is the problem.
Well, yeah.
But maybe
I mean,
also I'll feel
perhaps.
differently when we're in volume 18 and it's all starting to make sense or some shit.
I actually don't think so because my experience reading this has been it's weirdly difficult for me to follow. And I don't know if that's just a me thing or if that's
well, this is another reason why I appreciate the book club in general, because we can try to like figure out this kind of stuff together, because there's a lot of times with some of the stuff where I feel like I have a certain understanding of this, but I may have just like remembered it wrong or understood the scene wrong, and that's where I like to converse with the council about these matters,
The council will decide your fate, chap.
What did she mean by what did Alice mean when she just randomly said sausage? What was the meaning behind this? There was a translator note had to do with like the
It's
previous
very deep.
page, I guess. Listen, it's very deep. Okay,
We
it was
already
integral.
have sausage,
How
Jack.
is the sausage made? Is the real question.
You know,
that's true.
important questions. You know,
And I think to jump back to sort of the Umineko comparison, because we
Oh,
are
boy.
not escaping that.
that's true.
I think
All of you sound insane, by the way. I'm the only one who's never made a comparison to Umineko.
Ever?
Because you're not
Okay,
finished.
I
You know,
understand.
if the chat has noticed this, you're welcome. I can examine works without going, how is this not like Umineko?
Hey, listen, Aztec has also not made a comparison because Aztec only watched the anime with us. Okay, so
A very shitty anime.
I am
Sorry,
already
a
apologizing
portion
for
of
the
being
anime.
exactly the
a
way
portion
I
of the
am.
anime too. Okay.
not to talk over you. I think that outside of Umineko being as influential as it is, part of it is the fact that they're both like heavily supernatural based time shenanigan mysteries.
Yep.
Like it's not just Umineko being Umineko, it's
Well, there is
genre
quite a bit of it.
literacy to an extent.
It's just hard because, like, I love mysteries. I love supernatural fiction. I love, like, media related to supernatural, occult, and mystery. I haven't played Umineko. So
Well,
That's fair.
get on that.
I
You
don't go,
probably should.
but the thing is that I just find it like I'm just like Yeah, but there's other things that came out before Umineko that were
Before
And there's things that came out after
influential.
too. Yeah, that's true. I mean,
Which is
Yeah,
fair.
the-
I mean,
we just point to
I
it because
don't
it's a
think
pretty
the
big, like, easy
overlap
thing
is
to
as
talk about. For
big,
it.
is what I'm trying to say. I do think that you know, there are certain properties, certain books that have been very influential, especially in Japan, because they get brought up. Alice in Wonderland. I mean, every time I see something Alice in Wonderland themed or Wizard of Oz, I'm like, y'all have to stop doing this. Pick a different book. But
And that's when we picked Umineko.
I do think that sometimes it all kind of blends together, because also you have to think about the time periods, especially like fashion wise. These properties came up around the same time when these fashion styles were popular. Like this was not unusual, because I have read similar things. So I don't know. I wonder if it's a product of the time more than just Umineko is the most influential story ever
no, I don't.
of the period.
I don't think Umineko is influential in that way. I think Umineko is just kind of, because it is a work that is so heavily dedicated to examining the construction of a mystery as a mystery writer. It becomes something that is very useful as shorthand in order to then talk about other similar mysteries, or even mysteries
Right.
that aren't similar.
And I'm from the Twin Peaks world of things, which is
Based.
not everything can be explained. And
Yep.
there is definitely some things that are just more understood the more deeper your knowledge of perhaps mysticism, occult knowledge. And I know this sounds like crazy woo woo, just stick with me. But there are some things that I don't think have like that definitive, like, aha, that is what explains all of this. And it's interesting because there's a big part of fandom where they want to know every single reason and every single motive behind every single choice that was made. And sometimes you just can't. Sometimes it's almost like an artwork. It's interpretive. Your experience is actually a dialogue with the work. I prefer treating things that way. That's my background. I'm biased. Yep. I'm an artist. That's how I deal with everything that is I see visually or I read. So I guess what I'm trying to say overall is, like, I don't think that there is a down explanation for every single, and not every work can be dissected that way either.
That's fair.
I also have dealt with some frustrations with the author of Pandora Hearts, because there are times where they lead you down a path in a story and they don't give you any payoff at all.
Yes. Yep. I understand
really
this.
Annoying.
Yep.
And
it's the Toy Story I'm done playing with you meme. Yep.
all the time. And sometimes I have to remind myself, is like, Jun, I love your work. I love the vibes. I love the art. But man, you're killing me, man. Like, why do you have to do these winding
Why are you like this?
We've had 2 weeks in a row.
Give us nothing, Queen.
Yes,
give us nothing.
We've had 2 weeks in a row where they did that. They ended it on a cliffhanger for like a big fight that's happening, and then the next week it starts with it saying, "All right, the fight's done. We just went home." It's like, wait, no, what happened? Wait, it's happened twice in a row now with this.
It's like, you just talked about this thing and it was a bloodbath, and like, you know, I thought it was going to be like, you know, like the War of Roses or something, like royalty betraying each other, trying to, you know, usurp some kind of power that didn't belong to them. Like there's so many things that could go with it. They could go with it. And I'm like, oh, so you just stopped here. Okay, I guess. Like, all right. Time for the next chapter.
I agree a lot with what you were saying about the idea that not everything has to have a deeper meaning. that's always been a really, or not intentionally have a deeper meaning at least. That's always been a big philosophy of mine that I thought was going to be a really big roadblock for me when I went into art school, because I was so staunchly against the idea of art having symbolism. I subscribed to the idea generally that came around during Dadaism and pop art of like, sometimes you just make shit to make shit. Which is also honestly, and this isn't on chat, again, this is totally on me, which has made book club really difficult for me, actually, because I have so much trouble reading to be able to read. I don't want to say reading to understand, because that makes me sound like I'm dumb. And I'm not dumb. I have a degree, okay? But like,
nobody in book club is dumb. Nobody.
It like sometimes it's hard to
Except
be
for
able
me.
to do, and sometimes I think this is also just a product of the nature of my education, which we don't need to get into it. But I have trouble reading to understand or comprehend without other people giving me a starting point. Like I said, like the only thing I was like, oh, genre savvy, based on how rapidly Oz's characterization is going forward, he's probably going to die soon. Like, that's all I was able to bring to the table because I was reading it to enjoy it. But then also I had trouble enjoying the, like, whatever. I don't know.
That's right. Well, let me make this pretty clear, okay? When it comes to the book club discussions, or we're here to discuss as much as whatever people want to discuss. If you're somebody who wants to read this and you don't really want to like fully dissect the like nature of things, like what this could be symbolic of, or like this, you don't have to. These are things that we'll bring up, we'll talk about. If like there are people here who want to talk about it, I'll bring up a bunch of stuff that's coming off of my mind while I'm reading or whatever. If you're somebody who's just there like, I thought the fights were fucking cool, or I liked when this person was like pretty close to that person and thought they were gonna kiss or whatever. If these are things that you want to bring up and you don't really want to go too deep into it, you just like had fun with it, that's perfectly reasonable too. You're absolutely capable of doing that. I got no problem with us doing that. We obviously have like, you know, fun times laughing about the meme bits that happen or whatever, and joking about like why certain characters acted certain ways or whatever. You don't, I just want to make this clear, like you don't have to go into these readings fully doing an analysis on your own end unless you want to. Because, you know, another part of the book club discussion is that the people in the group who have done that stuff, we're just going to talk about that stuff amongst ourselves to try to figure out our understanding of these things and bring up relevant plot points to see if anybody wants to have any thoughts that they want to share about those. If your only thoughts about those is just, I had fun with that, or I was bored with that, or whatever, that's perfectly valid to bring up too. That, you know, that's perfectly fine and reasonable to do. I'm not here expecting everybody to show up with like a fully typed out essay on like their thoughts and the emotional development of Oz or whatever. You can just come here and say, I thought Echo was funny and cute in that scene in the date, and I thought that Break and Emily are the best characters. You could do that. I got no problem with that. You know,
that's just what I've been doing for the past few months.
And that's perfectly fair.
Write me a 500-word essay on.
You know, if you have thoughts that you want to discuss about these things in deeper means, like, we can absolutely go into it. This is why I'll typically like ramble on about my thoughts about well, because mostly I'm trying to cover the key events that happen, and then I'll ramble about my thoughts about it. If anybody at any point, you know, wants to interrupt me to share their thoughts with that kind of stuff, you absolutely can. I just hesitate. I mean, I'll stop sometimes to ask what people thought about certain stuff, but sometimes just nobody has things to say about these certain things, and that's perfectly fine if nobody does. Which is why I'll just ramble about my thoughts about these kind of things too. All this just to say, you do not have to go into these reading thinking it's like a homework assignment. You can just be chill about how you enjoy it, and if you show up saying, I read it and I don't really remember anything except I thought this scene was great, that's perfectly reasonable too. I got no problem with that, you know?
Me trying to get through Umi Neko while I was dealing with my school semester.
Connected to how you started off that talk, though, you had mentioned about, and this is based off what Spaghetti had said, about, you know, sometimes these mysteries don't necessarily need answers. And I think about this, I do agree with that. I'm currently rewatching Lost, And Lost is the type of show. I don't know if anybody here has actually seen Lost. Has anybody here actually seen Lost?
I've gotten to experience the reactions of people after every episode of Lost, and it was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful.
Lost is it's a very gripping, like, interesting show each episode, but it is absolutely, and it's a very heavily mystery drama driven show. But the nature of it with its mystery is such that the writers very clearly at many points in time have set up a weird thing to be happening on their, like, survival island adventure that they very clearly had no plan for actually explaining at the time. They were just like, this is just going to happen. Maybe we'll figure out a reasonable explanation for it later. I mean, some things they planned out, but other things they absolutely did not. And then they obviously clearly changed it up later for how their answer for it was going to be. If they do answer it at all, many of the things of it have not been answered, or if it has been answered, it's been retconned to not be answered later on in some cases. It is a interesting show in that regard, where there are just pieces of media that will dance around with those concepts, in part because the nature of it is trying to mess around with the idea of, like, answers or no answers. In another part, it's also because of the production of these things. Like, that was a long, like, TV series where, you know, between the different seasons, they could just decide to do something completely different for their answers for these kind of things. With a manga, they could have a certain plan for where they wanted the mystery to go, and then they decide, you know what, actually, I'm going to go this direction instead, and so certain things are, like, tweaked or whatever. And then we'll get things like the author just going, this fight's happening, things are escalating. Yeah, but we could also just move on to something else now, you know, this week. I could just be done with that. I don't know how I was going to end that anyway, so we'll just say it's done. You know, Jack could just tell Lottie to leave, and she'll just leave. Why not? All this to say, I do agree. We don't necessarily have to go into these readings expecting all these mysteries to get answers depending on the type of media you're consuming. When you get into, like, the Abyss section, I don't expect any of it to actually make sense for what's happening. I expect it to be, like, sort of weird, vague hints about what things were supposed to be happening, but I don't expect it to actually be the answer or whatever. And maybe, you know, these things do get answered later on, maybe not, but either way, those scenes in particular strike me as the moments where it's just like, it's not meant to make sense. It's meant to showcase the madness of the Abyss world. And to have you, like a whole bunch of stuff is developed for Break in that flashback, in front of him, that we, the reader, can more, like, understand the context of who the Cheshire Cat is, what the hell they're talking about or whatever. Break had no idea, and they're just all dealing with their own thing in front of Break, and then Break's just like, okay, but I'm here for, like, my past. Can you change my past? Like, he didn't really even, himself personally, it was just like, this is all just madness. I don't care about that. I just want my past to be addressed. Can we do that? And
Spaghetti, I got a question for you.
Sure.
Hi. So in the vein of what we have been talking about, how much of the original, you read the original Through the Looking Glass, right? That's what I'm gleaning from this.
I read the original what? I'm sorry.
Through the Looking Glass.
Yes.
So how much of that absurdism that you were kind of talking about was intentional, and how much of it was Lewis Carroll being high as shit on drugs?
Yes.
I think,
because,
like,
sorry, if I may explain, I think that may lend some wisdom into how to approach Pandora Hearts. That being said, go on. I'm listening.
I liken it to how, I don't know if anyone's heard the story about, like, how Dark Souls or Demon Souls, or even, like, Elden Ring, and how these stories came about. And the director Miyazaki always says, well, I was trying to read a book. It was in English. I don't understand English. So, but I read it anyway, and I kind of fill in the blanks with whatever I thought was happening in the story. And after you play and you're like, okay, this is kind of inspired by this is kind of inspired by that, but it does, I don't know why it reminded me of the same thing, of Miyazaki saying the same thing. And I kind of wonder if there are people who try, maybe perhaps they think because Alice in Wonderland is like a children's story, that it's a easy book to read for a beginner English level. Or you know how people just look up books and stuff, or look up media based off of Alice in Wonderland, or watch a movie that perhaps is not translated in their language. And that explains a lot of the absurdism, a lot of the gaps that you're like, why? They didn't really explain or go into this. They just kind of feature a character that comes in and out every once in a while, but they don't get the whole depth. And I wonder if that plays a part in this story. Of course, I know there is a Japanese version of Alice in Wonderland. Disney did dub the animated movie. But like, that's what I think. It's like, I don't know if it's just a translation issue, or it's like a culture not understanding a book that's about, it's absurdist. Maybe they took some things very literally. Maybe they thought some things were very serious, because there's just like missing cultural touchstones that just have to be explained. So that's what I think personally. I've even been to an Alice in Wonderland ballet. I've interacted with this media in so many different ways, and I'm like, this is kind of a more interesting take on it, especially including stuff like Wizard of Oz, but not really putting anything, just using the names. It's kind of weird. So I think there is some loss and some lost in translation kind of feeling for me. That's just my personal take from it. Like I said, I have read Pandora Hearts, so that's kind of how I feel. But my understanding of Pandora Hearts did not get deeper. My understanding of Alice and related media, however, has gotten deeper, because there was more layers put in the story that I find in bits and pieces, especially upon research surrounding Lewis Carroll, and that there's more information that comes to light every couple of years as well about him.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sorry for the long rant about that.
No, you're
I
good.
hope that
No,
answered your
interesting.
question.
That's why
It was
asked.
literally asked for.
Yeah. It's all welcome here, okay? Everybody is welcome to ramble about their whatever thoughts they have in their head or experiences they have related to this stuff. It's all welcome, I say.
That's what I want to bring up.
Yeah, what's that?
All right, and you gotta understand, okay? Anytime I interject in any book,
You
And you got it.
that makes a dumb
no.
mistake.
hold up. You just cut out. I have no clue
You
what you
cut
just
out
said.
real bad there,
You
bud.
cut out in the pivotal moment.
Try it
You really
again.
did.
Try it again.
Okay, where was I?
Yeah, I just start from the beginning.
Start over.
We didn't
Just
hear
start
any.
over, man.
Okay, sorry. Try again.
You can do it.
Oh fuck, where was I?
About
Started with anytime I
about
say anything
interjecting.
in book club.
Okay, anytime I interject during book clubs, we something goofy happened, someone didn't mention, or Chad makes a dumb mistake. Okay, my face.
Yeah, that's fine.
Can we get a pie chart of that? Like, hold on.
I will say
What?
I will say I do get interested in Shadow. What Shadow seems to like be more receptive of, to want to actually like discuss, because I mean it's not gone unnoticed that a lot of the time Shadow only really brings up the funny meme panels that he notices, which is perfectly fine. He's got no problem doing that.
My thing is because of my previous experiences with stories and whatnot, like Mega Battle Arc, like the overarching story, not the greatest, but the characters are like pretty good. So I'm very big on the characters.
Sure.
Is my thing.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine too, And again, like I said, I do get interested in like when you do actually have something that's like has piqued your interest enough for you to actually ramble about it on your own. Like that kind of stuff is like pretty interesting, I think, because again, a lot of the times you mostly just bring up stuff that you thought was funny, or and again, nothing wrong with that at all. That's perfectly fine. That's perfectly valid. But there are rare times where like you have something that you actually want to talk about that's not just a funny panel, and I'm just like I'm locked in for it. So it's all
like my favorite part of the anime book club so far was the battle eating disorder part, and it's only because two people looked at two different pages and didn't think about it too hard, but came to the same conclusion.
And then we had that bit, and then we had the mer people bit. There's a whole bunch of little bits like that. And that's all perfectly fine.
Here's an accurate graph
of
why Shadow chimes in during book club.
Let's see here. I'm gonna show this on the stream. It's accurate. It's accurate. This is
I'm the annoying bitch that does show up with a 5-page essay every week.
This is the pie chart of when Shadow interjects in book club. It's usually either Chap making a mistake, which is a lot of the pie, or funny panel, which again, valid. It's valid.
No.
Yeah, man. Have you tried being better?
You know what? While it would take far too long, I would like to see an actual ratio, like an actual count.
Well, honestly, it would be
the ratio.
Realistically, you have only offered to correct Chap once about the fact that he was making mistakes between mixing up Oz and Jack. And you have mentioned at least 2 funny panels. So right now, realistically, it would be a 2/3 split. The 2 panels being the visual novel one that you liked and the sausage.
So what you're telling me is I need to correct more Chap's mistakes.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Wait, no, there was 3 funny panels, okay? Because he also posted the little
the Azumanga
speech
panel.
No, the speech bubble is where it says, "Where's Alice? I left her behind. Why would you do that?" That's another funny meme panel.
Alright, Chap, we're gonna need you to be a lot worse real quick.
Oh, okay, alright. That's true. I got it.
Chap's trying to be like, no, there were more funny panels, and we're like, nah, Chap, sorry.
You have to make more mistakes now.
Alright, well, listen. Again, the all this to say, okay, all ways of consuming the media that we do read and discuss, people can enjoy things for different reasons. So if you want to talk about things, if anybody here wants to bring up things for whatever reason, not every week has to just be a whole deep, in-depth dissection of like Oz's growth. People can just bring up a topic if they want to discuss it more. Otherwise they can just interject with like, I thought this was funny, I thought this was fun, I liked when this character did this, I hated when this character did this. All that's valid. Yeah, we know. Don't know why such hate. Such hate in your heart. Where did it come from? For Natsuki?
I have to find a new character to hate, but I don't hate any characters in this. I have no strong emotions towards any of them.
Wait, hold on. I'm trying to remember. Her name was Natsuki, or was it Natsuhi? Natsuhi was
it's
from
Natsuki. Natsuki was
Natsuki.
From Mineko.
Okay, all right. Different Natsus.
When the seagulls cry, no one will be left
Which means that we need to read Fairy Tail next to obtain the 3rd Natsu.
I would rather not. Listen. All right. Pandora Hearts. Any other thoughts we have for the stuff from this way? I think we pretty much went over almost everything for the big plot point stuff. Is there anything else we want to bring up, or any thoughts anybody wants to express? Topics, comments, concerns, theories before we wrap it up for this week?
Okay, so Andy's going to hate me for this because it's going to fuck up the ratio even more.
I'm ready for it. You give me the funny panel.
The bonus stream at the end of Volume 8, there's a particular one.
Oh yeah,
Which one was the one at the end
that
of
bonus meme
the-
panel was the love advice panel because
Oh.
we had bits in the actual manga where Alice is talking with what's her name, Sharon, just being like, Alice has just been hanging out with a lot of other people, especially women, and ignoring me. Okay, I don't like that. And Sharon's just trying to say, "Oh my God, that means someone has a crush. Ooh, that's called jealousy.
You're jealous.
Let's learn about it more from this romance manga." They're reading it, and she's like, "Yeah, so the way that she solves the problem, was she just destroyed all of her competition." Anyways, we're gonna move on now, and I'm just like, are we foreshadowing things here? Are people going to be murdered by Alice out of jealousy? What is happening here?
Also, I like to mention that she calls the romance novels Bibles.
Yeah, the Bible. It is a Bible.
Which is very interesting because I didn't know they made Bible 2. They just shadow dropped it out of nowhere. We waited for like 2,000 years for this.
That's her Bible, okay? She really
Yeah, he
likes the
came back.
romance.
You
It's
didn't
fine.
hear?
Bible
They made lots of Bibles. There's been a lot of arguments over that. Wars,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Okay,
There's
so
one
I want
going
how
on right now, would you believe it?
exactly.
Let me just Google the Crusades real
Wow.
quick.
So this is the meme bonus meme panel. Step 1 for the love advice corner. Step 1: make him know who the boss. Make him know who the boss is in your relationship. First, make him realize that you are superior to him. The Sylvie-san way is to step on him with your heels and shout, "Call me master, you mongrel." That's step 1. Okay, that's important. Step 2. This one's important, okay? Use your carrot and stick elegantly. Being harsh at all times will never do. You should pat his head and compliment him when he behaves well. Then he will become even more devoted because he wants to be complimented again. The ideal ratio of carrot to stick is 2 to 8, okay? The ratio is important, okay? Step 3, make your heart his by acting different at times. Any lord becomes weak when confronted with a woman's tears. The prince had his heart pierced when Sylvie-san happened to show her frailty. The secret is to make him think, I want to protect her, I want her to step on, and I want her to step on me. What?
Interesting combination.
These are
Classic.
These are the important love advice steps.
And then
okay?
she ends with like almost a Frio Erica meme.
What do you think? Please try it out, everyone. True.
Okay,
Fuck off.
And it's just Oz break and Gil in the corner be like, I don't know about that.
Ow, sorry.
So here's my problem though, is I've written notes, but I'm not sure I should put in the folder of what to avoid.
You cut out again.
Hey, chat, or not chat. Oh my god.
See, now you're making a mistake now. Oh god, how embarrassing. What about the ratio?
Truly, the road's a mistake.
All right, is Shadow back
Sorry,
now?
what was it?
You cut
Welcome
out
back.
whatever you were trying to say.
Okay, so I said take notes on this section, but I'm not sure I should put in the folder what to avoid or seek out.
What to avoid or seek out.
You took notes on this section. I'm trying to understand.
This page.
Oh.
What to avoid or to seek out.
I'm not sure which one to put it in.
It really, Shadow, if you want genuine advice, it really depends on your taste.
Because the shit poster says yes, but the
real
same
quick,
person says no.
Real quick, someone is in YouTube chat typing rom-com question. Is it rom-com question? Please answer me. Bruh, check your chat, please. This is not a rom-com. If your question
Although
is
it
whether or
feels
not
like it
Pandora
sometimes.
Hearts is a rom-com, it is not a rom-com. The bonus
It's a
meme thing.
rom-com depending on how much heavy lifting you're willing to do.
True.
In your mind.
True.
Depending on
Without
your
love,
hold
it
on.
cannot be seen.
Just to clarify, because it sounded like he was really, really in a rush here, okay? The panel that we were showing was a bonus meme panel that is not related to the canon story. Was supposed to be like a love
Sadly.
advice joke thing. But it is inspired on a romancy element that is in the main story, where it seems to be implying that Alice Alice got a crush on Oz. Ew. Like it is a little bit, and Sharon is very obsessed with it. Okay, Sharon's all in on it.
Look, I could say that Pandora Hearts is certainly a comedy. I'm not too sure the
No, it's the other way around. It's for sure a romance. I don't know about a comedy. I think it's a tragic romance.
That's objectively incorrect, though.
No. It's a tragic romance in the way of like Greek tragedies. You know, they had a little bit of humor, but they weren't dominantly comedies. They were, in fact, tragedies, mostly punctuated by the fact that like everyone died except for the comedic.
But Andy,
relief. Huh?
Tragedy is just a comedy, but like further back.
What? What does that even mean?
Tragedy
Sorry, hold on.
equals comedy
Cut.
plus time. It's the
Yes.
joke that he was going for.
Oh, okay.
So I guess it's a rom-com by that definition.
You know what? You're right. We're at the comedy point now. Give it a couple more weeks, and we'll be at the tragedy part.
We'll get
On
back
a
to
long enough
tragedy.
time scale, everything is a rom-com.
True.
It's actually a
love
bell curve.
Halloween.
All right. Does anybody else have any other Pandora Hearts thoughts, topics, concerns, theories that we want to say before we wrap up?
The last, not the bonus meme page before this one mentioned Yuri, and that's
Oh.
important.
That's true. This is
Yippee.
very true. This is very true. Anything else? All right, sweet. Well, real quick, we also have another chat in YouTube chat from Birdie is Best, just saying hello, Birdie. Unfortunately, you have tuned in as we are about to wrap up for this week. But if you want to hear the our other everything else that we were discussing about these volumes, the VOD will be public right after the stream is done. You can go and listen to the whole thing if you want to hear our thoughts on this. And we'll be meeting next week at around the same time for volumes 9 and 10 of Pandora Hearts. If you are somebody who is interested in those discussions, you can check out the streams. We stream on YouTube, Twitch, and Kick all at the same time. You can find links to all these things at my website, wolfborg.com, or you can just type twitch.wolfborg.com, youtube.wolfborg.com, or kick.wolfborg.com. If you are somebody who wants to listen to these podcasts from the past, they're all up on the YouTube channel. That's all the episodes are on there. I put them in playlists for each of the series that we do. And if you're somebody who wants to become a part of the book club and read manga and discuss it with us, either on the stream or just in the chats, you can join discord.wolfborg.com. Go into the Discord server, grab yourself the Anime Book Club role, and we have a very nice time there with that. And we will be wrapping up the stream here. I'm going to raid out on Twitch. Let's see who we got. And then we will see everybody next week. Who do we have here? I think... here we go. Obobo is streaming Disgaea 2. Let's go say hi to Obobo. Thank you so much, everybody, for showing up. And I will see you all next week for more Pandora Hearts. What will happen? What will happen? Who will survive?
Will they fall in love?
Will they fall in love?
Transition, and this will become Yuri.
Maybe. It's possible. I believe. Anyways, goodbye,
I know this in
gamers.
my heart.
Stay safe, gamers.
Bye.
Bye-bye,
Bye.
stream.
Bye.
Bye, stream.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.